Very good, very good, very good. I said a very good maratatu, and when I say it 3 times, it means today is the 3rd day of the week. 9th day, and Arsenal scored 3 goals. Good morning, good morning, good morning. You must say good morning 3 times again. That was just an easy game. It was an easy game. All Arsenal fans, can you say yeah? I'm clapping for myself. Thank you, and you, yeah. The rest?
And you're the only one clapping.
I know. There is no problem because I know Mike supports.
No team.
No team.
I saw this coming.
I know Vivian, Pia, Kati, you know, Blada and all that. We no longer have that. It's not a game. Yeah. Marina tutawezi sema.
By association, though.
By association, right?
Yes. Arsenal.
Arsenal's won at the World Cup yesterday.
What?
At the World Cup?
What?
Really?
So
He's just trying to play with Marie.
No. That one I would have watched, you know that. I watch World Cup. I've always said that. I watch Africa Cup of Nations. Stages, not all of them, not at the beginning. I've always said that. So if it was World Cup, you know, I would be in the know.
Ah, all right.
Yes. But congratulations.
Yes.
Yeah, at
That's
least,
what he wanted. At least you've told him congratulations. Because I was not going to do it.
Yeah. Nobody was going to say congratulations.
I was not going to do it. As a Manchester United fan, there's no way I'm congratulating an Arsenal fan.
Oh. Yeah. Director, my name is Victor. Welcome to the program. As Manchester
Manchester United. Glory, glory, bado.
All right. It's a nice day of a beautiful Wednesday. It rained so badly last night. And I'm so sure, not so sure, I guess, and based on how it was last evening, please talk to us on our social media handles. How did it find you? Mostly, and more so in the city. It was so heavy in the city last night. I know our colleagues in the newsroom will be taking a look at what really happened. Last evening, some of the roads were completely flooded. Some pictures are going around on social media that some people were affected last night. Yeah, so please send us those photos if you have. Talk to us on social media. My name is Victor Olo. On The Viewpoint today, I have Kimani Mwangi, political analyst, and George Kithi, who is an advocate of the High Court. Join me at the top of the hour for more. Vivian.
All right, a very good morning to each and every one of you who is tuned in on the show. To all Arsenal fans, yes, you're allowed to celebrate. It is okay, it is allowed. It is your season, it is your time. You can celebrate. Otherwise, it's a very good morning, and I am more than pleased that you have chosen us to start off your day on this beautiful 9th day of April. Now, for me today, I'll only give you a quote. I'll give you a quote. Let me not put only there. I'll give you a quote, you know, and it says, "It always seems impossible until it is done." So whatever it is that you're putting your mind to, it will seem impossible, but it always seems impossible until it's done. So go ahead and do it. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Vivian. I almost called you Mike.
Wow. Hey, what did you take this morning?
I almost called you Mike.
Vivian, good morning.
Can I check if your fever is okay?
Vivian, how are you?
Oh, yeah. So if I'm Mike, then it can be Vivian.
Welcome to the program. My name is Mike Migo, and I enjoy the banter between Manchester fan and an Arsenal fan because it's funny how they trade barbs on who is better, but then again, results speak for themselves.
So please.
Yeah. Welcome to the program, and in line with what Vivian has said, in life you'll face many defeats, but never let yourself be defeated. Those are words by Maya Angelou. Welcome to the program, and it's going to be an enticing and fascinating time here at KBC Channel 1. Good morning, Marie.
A very good morning to you, Mike. So I have to be careful, lest I call you Marie. You know, but a very good morning to you all joining us here in Nairobi and across the country. My name is Marie Yambo, and a lot will be packing for you in this particular bulletin. But just you know, to emphasize on what Victor was talking about, and that is the rains, and that we need to be very, very careful I'll be bringing a story about the cholera outbreak in the different parts of the country. And that in itself is just pointing to the fact that the weather conditions that we are experiencing right now are actually, can I say, a bedrock for all manner of, diseases, especially waterborne diseases. So this is the time that you need to take care more than ever in terms of boiling your water, making sure the food that you're eating is well, cooked, boiled, and all those manner of things. So I'll be bringing you details of that. But before that, I also wanted to give you some safety tips on what to do as per the Red Cross. Evacuate immediately to elevated areas in case of flooding. Just 6 inches of moving water can knock you down, so do not underestimate, moving water. And 1 foot of moving water can sweep your vehicle away. So for those driving, you need to be, careful. In flooded areas, use a stick to test the depth. You know how we do it sometimes, Victor, Mike, Vivian? Uneka mguu hivi. Unaona kama inaweza.
Yes. You shouldn't do
that.
Yeah.
You should use a stick, to do that so that you understand, okay? And then switch off electricity at the main switch if the house is flooded, and avoid parking, driving, or conducting activities along streams or rivers during floods. Watu wanaenda kuchukua selfies. You saw some years back, I'm not so sure if you can remember, of people who went somewhere and it was disastrous. Avoid down power lines and muddy waters where power lines may have fallen, and do not drive over a bridge that is flooded. Last but not least, listen to us, the TV, radio, to stay updated on floods and rains around the country. So we'll bring you updates of that, definitely in collaboration with the Meteorological Department, just to keep you abreast. It's the rainy season, so do take care of yourselves, including the children, when it comes to what you wear or what they're wearing and all that. So all those will be coming as we monitor the weather conditions. But cholera cases hit 97, with 6 deaths reported across 3 counties. And Chief Justice Martha Koome warns corrupt officers in the judiciary of dire consequences due to corruption. And the military has been deployed to demolish a sinking 9-story building in Mombasa. Well, business and sports will be coming at the tail end of this particular bulletin. But I want to begin with that health update where the Ministry of Health is calling on the public to enhance personal hygiene measures as the numbers of cholera cases in the country hit 97. As of the 6th of April 2025, a total of 6 fatalities had been reported in Migori, Kisumu, and Nairobi counties. According to Health Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale, the country is adequately prepared to manage and contain the outbreak. Let's get the details with our reporter.
In a statement by Health Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale, Kenya has 97 confirmed cholera cases, with 6 fatalities have been reported in the 3 counties of Migori, Kisumu, and Nairobi. Migori County accounts for the biggest chunk of the cholera cases, which stands at 53 and 1 death. Most patients in Migori have recovered, with 2 remaining hospitalized. Kisumu County has 32 cases and 4 deaths, with Nyando and Muhoroni sub-counties affected. Nairobi County, on the other hand, has 12 cases and 1 death. The affected sub-counties are Kasarani, Embakasi East, Embakasi Central, Roysambu, Kibra, and Dagoretti South. As the Ministry of Health maintains it has enhanced surveillance, the public has been urged to wash hands frequently with soap and water, especially after using the toilet, before eating or preparing food, and after caring for the sick. Meanwhile, the Kitengela municipality has put on notice homeowners who carelessly discharge sewage and other waste.
Sewage mingi inamwagwa barabarani, kuna takataka mingi inatupwa kiholela, kama pale njia ya nyuma ya sokoni, takataka hapo inabebwa na lori hii wiki ingine imejaa, na tunahitaji haya maneno sisi wenyewe kama wananchi wa Kajiado tuchukue jukumu la kufanya hii usafi.
Moja ni wale wenye manyumba kuachilia uchafu uingie kwa mitaro, ifanye hiyo town yetu inuke na ifanye uchafu katika mitaro zote, wanaachilia.
The vice is said to be taking place at night, especially when it is raining, posing a health risk to locals.
Kimpata yeyote anafanya hivyo, which is against the laws of the county ya Plupa, tutahakikisha kwamba tumemshika, tumeprosecute, na tunaweza hata kumnyima license, na kama kuna license tuta revoke.
Ousted Public Service Cabinet Secretary Justin Muturi now claims the state has withdrawn his security detail. Muturi alleged the state has withdrawn the remaining 2 security officers who had been assigned to him owing to his previous position as Speaker of the National Assembly, which he claims is an attempt to silence him.
In the security sector, we don't do things politically. Yeah, we must all follow the law, and I don't think any security can be withdrawn from any person who is entitled to for political reasons. And as I said, I will get the clarification from the IG. There's a possibility, of course, of scale down because of when you are no longer holding office. And that's what we expect, all of us. When you are no longer holding office, they will scale down the security. But there is no reason for me to now to believe that he doesn't have security until I get a proper brief.
And Chief Justice Martha Koome is now expressing concern that graft is slowly sliding back into the judiciary, eroding the country's confidence in the justice system. Speaking at the Kadhi's colloquium in Naivasha, the Chief Justice said her office has received reports from members of the public that some staff who she did not name are demanding facilitation fees to assist, warning that this cannot be tolerated.
Justice Martha Koome has now turned her attention to staffers within the judiciary whose complaints have reached her desk at the Supreme Court.
We meet at a time when the judiciary has been placed under heightened public scrutiny.
Koome is saying corruption is starting to become a menace within the third arm of the government.
Across the country, there are concerns raised not only about the timelines and quality of our service delivery, but also about the integrity of a few within our ranks.
During this year's Magistrate and Kadhi's colloquium in Naivasha, Nakuru County, Koome said these concerns will hamper Kenya's trust in the judicial system.
And regrettably, for renewed allegations of corruption in some of our court stations. This scrutiny is a moment of reckoning and an opportunity for deep reflection and reform.
Without revealing the names or how many staffers are involved from the apex court to the lower courts, she noted that action will be taken against those involved.
Representatives of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission and other stakeholders to raise concerns about integrity issues, if there is bribery going on, if there is facilitation fee being asked for.
She said that a court's integrity users committee that included officers from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission will be formed in all courts to address this emerging vice. The revelation comes barely months after the anti-graft body submitted a report to her office highlighting how staff in several courts have been demanding facilitation fees to assist members of the public.
There are 3 stations that she had received reports that were seemingly, allegedly notorious for where people are taking bribes.
To politics now, where Orange Democratic Movement has condemned the chaos witnessed during the party primaries in Homa Bay County that left 2 people seriously injured on Monday. Speaking at Orange House, ODM Executive Director Odor Ongwen warned that investigations are underway and aspirants found to have fueled the violence will be expelled from the party.
The Raila Odinga-led Orange Democratic Movement says grassroots elections scheduled for Wednesday will go on as planned, despite violence that rocked party primaries in Thiwa, Homa Bay County, Kibra in Nairobi, and Kaptemba in Nakuru County. 2 people in Homa Bay County are nursing serious machete injuries.
Ninaomba wanachama wa ODM ya kwamba uchaguzi si vita. Ikiwa mtu anaenda na panga na rungu katika polling station, sijui anaenda kufanya nini na hizo kwa sababu hakuna kazi ya panga huko, hakuna kazi ya rungu huko. Hapo ni kazi tu ya kura.
ODM Executive Director Odoro Ngweny says the party is conducting investigations and party members found to have sponsored the violence risk expulsion.
Those 3 places, those 3 wards where there were challenges, already we have received the information and investigations are being done. First of all, those who are responsible must bear responsibility. And where, like in Kibra, where those people even ran with the material, we can't let them get away with it, because Kibra people must get their rights. So that will definitely be resolved, even if it means repeat elections.
Delegates elected in yesterday's exercise will be the only ones eligible to participate in the branch elections, which are scheduled for tomorrow, Wednesday 9th April 2025, in all the 290 constituencies in the country.
He however said the Monday elections were largely peaceful and called on members to exercise restraint in the branch elections to be held at the constituency level on Wednesday.
And to safety issues in Mombasa, where Mombasa County Government has ordered an emergency evacuation of residents and patients within 1.2-kilometer radius of unsafe 9-story building scheduled for demolition on Wednesday, that is today. The operation is aimed at averting a potential disaster. The building, located on Abdel Nasir Road, has been declared structurally unsound following a multi-agency assessment that reveals severe foundational and structural damage caused by unauthorized borehole drilling that resulted in caving in of 2 floors. And as Timothy Kipnusu now reports, Governor Abdul Swamad Sharif Nasser revealed that the county was compelled to act swiftly to protect lives.
The inspection team that includes the County Department of Lands, the National Building Inspectorate, the Kenya Defence Forces and the other key authorities confirmed the collapse of ground floor columns by up to 3 meters, prompting the demolition. Residents and workers in the affected zone, which spans from Abdel Nasser Road to Marikiti and Buxton, have been urged to keep off and avoid all schools, madrasas, mosques and workplaces within the earmarked radius.
Kesho kuanzia saa 12 asubuhi mtu yoyote asikae katika nyumba yake, asiende katika msikiti ulioko karibu na sehemu hiyo, asiende katika skuli ambayo kwamba iko karibu na sehemu hiyo. Madrasa, watu wasiende makazini kilomita 1.2.
Patients at Coast General Teaching and Referral Hospital, which lies within the danger zone, have been moved. The Kenya Defence Forces will handle the core demolition operation, including securing the blast zone. An outer perimeter will be enforced by the National Police Service and County Inspectorate officers. Traders and businesses within the area have been instructed to shut down and vacate.
Ni lazima tufanye mpango, watu wote will have to vacate. Hii haitodhuru nyumba yako, lakini ule mtikiso ambao kwamba utaka kuweko utasababisha athari ya masikio yako. Hii ni bomu. Jumba hata likianguka kuna uwezekano chuma, mawe kuweza kuruka. Ikiruka kuna uwezekano wa kuweza kukupiga wewe, kwa sababu ulikuwa pahali ambapo kwamba inafika.
Additional safety measures include closure of Nyali Bridge to all traffic 1 hour before the blast. The operation is expected to conclude within the day, after which debris removal and further site investigations will commence. The county government has called for calm and full cooperation from the public.
Hatutaki kupata athari zaidi. Tumefahamikiana, sio? So 1.2 kilometers, the chiefs, wazee wa mitaa, community health promoters wataanza kuzunguka door to door na kuambia watu wote ya kwa kuanzia saa 12 we want no one in the houses.
Indeed, those doing business or living around that area should kindly take heed. To matters peace, where hundreds of religious and political leaders globally have vowed to end global conflict, saying the inter-country conflicts are largely attributed by limited resources. The leaders who are set to converge in Gapyeong, South Korea for the 13th April peace meeting say the summit would foster intercultural dialogue and promote unity.
World leaders are next week set to engage in discussions focused on addressing inter-country conflicts exacerbated by limited resources. The South Korea's April 13th peace gathering will serve as a platform for sharing innovative ideas and strategies to cultivate a more harmonious global community. The city of Gapyeong will also play host to an event to inaugurate Seonwonggung, a symbolic building dedicated to the promotion of peace, intercultural dialogue, and human unity. The initiative, spearheaded by the Universal Peace Federation, UPF, seeks to establish a crossroads for shared ideas and aspirations, ultimately contributing to a more peaceful world.
So all together, let us all, through meeting the true parents, let us all really become true children of our Heavenly Parent, and all together, let us realize God's dream on earth. Let us become such devoted sons and daughters, everyone.
We have enjoyed cordial relations with both Koreas in trade and commerce, education, cultural exchange, and technology transfer. And so, when it comes to what needs to be done to ensure lasting peace on the peninsula, we are happy to be part of it. All countries have one crisis or the other that they are dealing with. What is important is the commitment to arrive at a true and lasting peace through the most peaceful process.
According to a coalition of political and religious leaders, this long-term project is envisioned as a convergence point for international efforts aimed at fostering peace and cooperation among diverse populations. South Korea is expected to become a hub for educational programs, cultural exchanges, and forums that encourage dialogue between nations. UPF co-founder Hak Jahan Moon has emphasized the need for collective awareness of the importance of global peace, calling for a united response to the challenges facing humanity.
Members.
Irene Muchuma reporting. Crusaders against gender-based violence are advocating for the integration of current existing laws to strengthen the fight against the vice. National Council of Administrative Justice Committee Chairperson Christine Kongo says amalgamation of the laws will ensure a more coordinated and effective response. Meanwhile, the Chairperson Technical Working Group on GBV, Nancy Baraza, says the committee will work to ensure every recommendation will be taken into account in its final report.
Members to
The Technical Working Group on Gender-Based Violence is working round the clock to collect views from the public that will feature in its final report to the appointing authority.
If we make recommendations that touch on review or fresh legislation in certain areas, we will have to rely on Parliament to do that.
With key players converging at the Kenyatta International Convention Center in Nairobi, the venue for the exercise, Kenya Women Parliamentary Association's Chief Executive Officer Leah Sankaira says there is need to review existing legislations and GBV to align with the evolving realities.
There's need to review legislation, the existing legislation, to make sure that these perpetrators don't go unpunished, or rather it doesn't take a lot of time before victims get actually their justice, because justice delayed is justice denied.
Kenya National Commission of Human Rights reports that approximately 500 femicide cases have been reported between 2019 and 2024, hence the need for sufficient resourcing of safe homes.
The State Department of Gender to collaborate with the national and the county governments to establish and operationalize gender recovery centers and safe houses in every county for ease of access by the survivors, responders, and relatives of the survivors.
This even as the Nancy Baraza-led committee has pledged to incorporate all viewpoints in its final report. Doreen Arange for Prime Edition.
Thank you, Doreen, for that report. Now to business, where Kenyan food importers should take advantage of the global tariff wars to purchase surpluses that have accumulated from stalemates between countries. International Food Policy Research Institute Director General, that is Johan Swinen, says the current tariff stalemates involving the US will see food exporters explore alternative markets.
The International Food Policy Research Institute believes some countries might opt to offload their food surpluses to developing nations due to trade stalemates. This is due to new tariffs by the US that has restricted exports into America.
It may very well be that some countries decide that they will, for important commodities like food commodities, they may not impose tariffs, and their prices may actually become lower in the medium run rather than higher, which is good it's bad news for the farmers, but it's good news for the consumers.
Kenya farmers are being challenged to source for coffee markets across Africa and Europe to mitigate against the 10% tariffs imposed on Kenyan produce to the US.
So if there's an import tariff, that means that the price of coffee will increase for the American coffee consumers, but it's actually going to push the price down for the global coffee market. Okay, and so this may be good when you are in Europe and you like coffee, but it's likely to be bad if you're a coffee producer in the rest of the world.
Operationalization of the African Continental Free Trade Area, as well as promotion of regional trade, are expected to work in favor of African producers.
Mostly free trade agreement that's going to save Africa and that's going to help us really to reduce our reliance on external export.
To increase local production and reduce the import bill, the private sector is being challenged to boost investment in irrigation and other climate change resilience strategies.
Asia produce more than what they need at the continent level. Africa does not. One of the big differences between the two continents, Asia has about 58% of its irrigation, of its agricultural production irrigated. In Africa, we have only about 8%.
A look at sports. Sports Cabinet Secretary Salim Vuria on Tuesday confirmed that 1.6 billion shillings CHAN and AFCON hosting fee required by the Confederation of African Football has been fully settled, and that Kenya is now ready to host the 2 continental championships. While appearing before the Parliamentary Departmental Committee on Sports, Mvurya assured stakeholders that the government would not interfere with the operations of sports federations, promising support and respect for institutional independence. Meanwhile, FKF President Hussein Mohammed has reiterated that the federations aim to revitalize football in the country.
We have a lot of work to do in terms of improving our women's football. It has shown a lot of promise. So the current situation is that our women's football seems to be doing better than the men's football. We've invested heavily in women's football. We've provided support for the women's football. I'm not sure if you are aware that the Kenya under-17 actually played yesterday against Morocco, and we beat them 2-0.
We have a very big job to do, and the job starts by cleaning up the past and giving us the present and be able to show us the future of football in this country. And I believe you have what it takes with the 2 lovely footballers loved in this country for many years.
That's where we bring the news to a close. Thank you so much, as always, for starting your day with us here on Good Morning Kenya. My name is Marie Ambo, and I want to give room to the rest of the Good Morning Kenyan crew, including Victor Lowe, my colleagues Vivian and Mike, to take you through the rest of the program. And for more news updates, do stay tuned.
Kwa nini tuandike na mate ilhali wino uliokolea wa samawi na mweusi upo?
Elimu ni taa inayoangaza giza linalojitokeza, ni chemichemi ya maarifa inayotoa mvua ya busara.
Soko ya vipaji yamejaa.
Katika maisha hii, watu wengi sana wanatumia talanta yao ili kupata riziki, kama vile densi. Wengi wao tunaona kwenye televisheni na mtandao. Hapo ndipo anapata riziki na chakula cha kila siku.
Kwa hivyo talanta inalipa. Unakubaliana Rashid?
Uhaba wa fursa. Kuna watu ambao wako na talanta, lakini sio wote hupaswa upata kujulikana.
Tunga sentensi yoyote ile kwa kuzingatia kivumishi cha a unganifu.
Today we want to look at what would happen if the energy that the youth carry would be diverted to something constructive. This is not to say that all they do is destructive, but just looking at what about if we focus all this energy and see what kind of a nation we are going to create.
At the end of the day, God requires us to serve him in a young age. When you have the energy to do that, when you have the strength to do that, not when you are old, ndio unaanza kuamka, let me go and serve God, because you think death is near, so that's why you want to serve God. How strong are you? How strong are you? How strong is your Christianity? Ile kwa ya ukweli ama ile uongo? Because kama ni kwa ya ukweli, no matter what happens, the chokers of life, the peer pressures, the issues of life, the influence of this life, zikikuwa affect, at the end of the day, you know, cross, you have to keep on looking at it.
Jukunazo semangeo kitu ni cliche.
Wellness is important in our daily lives, so that instead of just surviving, we should be thriving.
Ways to prevent a stroke or heart attack is for you to know what conditions you have by regular checkup. People don't know they have hypertension. They don't know they have diabetes.
I was pre-diabetic. I was afraid of getting lifestyle diseases because I come from a family that has lifestyle diseases.
How do you know if your cough is due to a serious condition? We'll have some answers. Stay well
and strive to make every day a healthy day.
Greetings in the name of the Most High Jah Rastafari. My good name is Marley Moses, the positive warrior, alongside...
Yes sir, DJ D-Rage, the baddest. Each and every Wednesday from 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 TV.
Tunakuletea the biggest reggae party in 254 in a yard extra. Extra niceness of reggae music.
Extra dose of entertainment.
When the thing is nice,
we have to do it twice.
Great, welcome back. It's now 5 minutes past 7 a.m. on this very cold day in the city. Welcome to the program. Today being a Wednesday is a viewpoint, and I want us to take a look at what's really in the country in 360 degrees. And they'll also be taking you through the front page of our local dailies, what you need to understand, so that you can go there and pick your favorite paper. My name is Victor Olo. Welcome to the program. You can talk to us at Victor Olo at KBC Channel 1. Good Morning Kenya is the show. All right, my guests are in studio. Wakili Judge Kethi is an advocate of the High Court. Wakili, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good to see you, my brother. Y'all?
I'm well.
Karibu sana.
How is your morning?
So far, so good.
Thank you.
Kimani Mwangi, who is a public policy analyst. He's also a political analyst. He's also on set. Kimani, you're good, my brother?
I'm good, Victor.
Karibu.
Thank you for the invite.
It was a rainy night in the city.
Yeah.
That was unexpected. But it also boils down to the infrastructure that we have. I know there's so many photos going online, but this is something that we've been talking about, the infrastructure in the city, the drainage system, the road network, and what have you. Kera, Kura, the county government of Nairobi. What do you make of this, Kimani?
Poor drainage system as usual.
Yeah. It was stranded last night while going home.
You see, when you have a problem that keep coming and going, and we do nothing, then the problem is on us.
Yes.
Because it should be anticipated that in times of heavy rains, we'll have those drainage clogging, and we need to do this drainage in a better way once and for all. We need to have a way we shall solve this drainage problem once and for all.
Don't you think we don't have enough money to rectify that?
Not
Nairobi
really.
County alone.
I think the corruption levels in this country and the money they keep telling us we lose on daily basis is more than what we need to redo these drainage systems completely. Plus, every road construction comes with a requirement that we must take care of the drainage. So it starts by telling us that we have had corrupt dealings before where people were given contracts to do roads and they did not bother to make sure that the drainage of those roads was well done in a way that when it rains, water will find way to where it's supposed to go. Yes.
Okay. And Wakili, this is the time now Kenyans are asking themselves whether we live in some memes going around that we should be having boats in the city on standby somewhere. But then it calls on restructuring of the city. The population has risen over the years.
Yeah.
And that also calls upon either redesigning the city or looking at a way on how to get it better. The city inspectorate, just to improve the infrastructure. This goes back to the county governor's desk.
Well, I think it's a question of how serious those that in power are in terms of public affairs. Yes, the county government, but you see, what happens is not like this thing is not legislated upon. You know, finance bill.
It's not news.
A finance bill is really a legislation process where probably the MCAs will sit down, members of parliament also sit down and debate on something. And ordinarily, what they debate is something organic. It's something that lives with us. Now, when they allocate funds, for instance, on the drainage system, repair and maintenance and its development, of course, eventually it boils down to execution. So not like they don't know the problem of Nairobi, we all know. Not like we don't know how to fix it, we know. Because, I mean, there's all technical reasons why we have the technical abilities today. How to fix it, therefore, is the execution element, which we lack. Execution means fidelity to the cause as legislated in the finance bill, that this money is allocated for something, it must follow through, so that thing is done. And by the way, if we did what we say in terms of our debates, right from collection of information from wananchi and public participation all the way to the budget cycle until we legislate and follow through. Execution means where money has been allocated, we do as has been agreed at the debate and forum of legislation and planning, especially at the whatever respective houses of legislation we have, county and national. I think we'll be a very fantastic country because we know our problems. we allocate funds because we get taxed for it. And when it comes to execution, then there's a problem.
Yeah,
I mean, somebody somewhere,
the big issue.
Yeah, somebody somewhere, either the money is allocated to other projects, because you see, some projects don't make sense immediately. If you are told there'll be rain in 8 months, start now, it won't be an emergency, so what you need to do is probably donate food elsewhere on account of how optical it will be and the mileage you get out of it, because you need to see.
And I think we're just okay with the normal crisis.
The problem is,
the rain will come, we'll complain.
The problem is not even the leadership, because the leadership would want to be optically relevant. It is us to say this has to be done where. And the other argument would be, of course, we've given you your job. Why don't you work? Because we gave you the job to work. But the oversight, there's no job that can be done without oversight. That's why we have even in private institutions supervisors. And the supervisors in this country are Kenyans themselves. In fact, the fact that Kenyans are robust in saying what they need to say online, in the media, and whatever it is exactly their role. I mean, they are supposed to oversight on government, officialdom, and these institutions. Suffice it to say, therefore, I think it's all collective. We tolerate it. I mean, it's going to be with us every day. I mean, by the time I tolerate you in my house, if you're not supposed to be in my house, but I tolerate you, I'll have you every day. If you have something wrong with you and you tolerate it every day, you're going to have it every day. So we're going to live with it until we don't want it, and it goes. For what we don't want, I know as Kenyans won't have it. Whether it is the finance bill, whoever it is. I mean, we've hounded people from offices, even through social media in this country. So if we don't need you, we don't need you. But if you tolerate it, then we will go through the pain. So we're going through the pain because I think as Kenyans, we also tolerate it.
We can do better. All right. So gentlemen, let me take you a quick look on the front page of a local daily. Starting with the Star newspaper. On the front page, Ruto Rigiji was Mount Kenya party quits Kenya Kwanza. Ruto Rigiji was Mount Kenya party quits Kenya Kwanza. That is KK. Farmers Party accuses president of dishonesty. Farmers Party accuses president of dishonesty. That is on the splash of the Star newspaper. You can take a look at that story again on the front page. It's not something to smile about. A family of 6 who perished in a road accident a week or so ago, coming from a memorial service somewhere in Naivasha on their way back to Nairobi, were buried. It's a sad situation. But just to give it some context, a mother lost 3 sons and a husband. So that's how painful it can be. So when it's reported, I think it deserves a front page. Let's be careful on the road. Let's be careful on the road. I knew she would return home. That's the mother of a slain student who was found in a septic tank or in a water tank in one of the universities around Nairobi. The police still investigating the case. All right, on the front page of the Standard, State House rogues. That is what's on the front page, State House rogues. The 2 gentlemen here, we have got Dennis Itumbi, and this is the president's personal PA, Farouk Kibet. These are the 2 gentlemen on the front page of the Standard newspaper today. Let me give you a quick read. It says that President William Ruto clings to them like a leech. Or perhaps it's the other way around. Farouk Kibet, his elusive personal aide, and Dennis Itumbi, the cunning self-styled digital spin doctor, have become inseparable from the president, orbiting his every move with an air of entitlement that rivals co-rulers. Their presence unnerves those around the presidency. Critics dismiss them as mere errand boys, meddling busybodies, or backroom schemers. In a blistering critique, former DP Rigathi Gachagua goes further, suggesting that they are not just aides, but something more sinister, masterminds of self-serving schemes veiled by the authority of the state. That is on the front page, all right? How murdered drug baron built empire, still on the front page, and bad loans hit a record 700 billion shillings. That's according to the CBK, which now is facing a growing policy dilemma as a surge in bad loans across the key sectors threaten to undermine the efforts of the government to stabilize the economy. Puzzle of 6 names added to IEBC shortlist. That is what is here. On the Daily Nation, puzzle of 6 names added to IEBC shortlist. They applied for jobs, weren't shortlisted, but were invited for interviews. Okay. Who are they? Number 1, this is a controversial list. 1 is Hassan Nur Hassan. He left. He's a former Chief Administrative Secretary, CAS, and a long-serving provincial administrator. We also have Jibril Mali Mohammed, Michaels Ben Oliewo, Michael Charles Kipyegon Mutai, Stephen Kibet Ngeno, and finally Joel Muita Daniel. These are the 6 names which are now becoming a bit of an issue with the IEBC. IEBC selection panel introduced 6 extra names to the final list of candidates just days to the start of the interviews for the vacant positions of the electoral agency's chairperson and members, raising eyebrows and questions as to the integrity of the ongoing recruitment. Wakili, let me come back to you again. Legally speaking, these should not be happening because they didn't apply. So how?
No, it didn't. It shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
But I do understand. I mean, if you have applied for these jobs, you would know what happens there. Ordinarily, in such high-octane jobs, there are many interests that get served or are intended to be served. IEBC is a tool of trade in politics. As we've seen before experience, it's a tool of trade because whoever controls it is assured of control of part or probably substantially the traffic system of election and predisposed to probably manipulation of that system. Now, you need to get people or good men and women in the context of your interests. That'll be good and the bad. Those that you can't manipulate then will be bad.
Yeah.
Those that you can manipulate then be good in the context of whoever his interests are served. But then there is the micro, the very dark area that we're not predisposed to as the nation, because our interest is a good, credible, accountable process that yields into the leadership that we propose through the opinions exercised through our ballots in the voting system. But then, ordinarily, we don't get the leaders we want because the prefixing of election, it takes a process. One of it is at the appointment through this recruitment. When a person has not presented his papers within the timeline stated, because there's a cutoff, then there'll be qualification that's also part of the cutoff.
Yeah.
If you don't, you're already out. You're either in or out because there is a prescription that has been put into place. Once you put in your papers, it is supposed to be a public process. That's why the names are published. If the names are published, but some have been left out, either because of sheer negligence or recklessness of the office, or whoever ought to publish, you need to do a correction of the same. So that then you inform through the publication that now the full list is this list because some 6 names or 7 names were left. The variance of that is that those that you did not put in the list then did not make it. You see, 910,000 people could apply, but you can shortlist 7, you can shortlist 25. The discretion is yours. Once you exercise that discretion, then you don't alter the discretion because then you have already published that decision. Once you've communicated that through the publication as was done, and you've left out certain people, you do not go back to do the correction on your own because it is not your process. It is a public process. Then once you bring now other people into the process and interview them or intend to interview them, you adulterate the entire process. You see, the process then needs to be nullified in total. In fact, you do not say, we have interviewed 10 people, 2 people were added, and therefore the other 2 ought not to be the process. The whole process becomes adulterated, and therefore you need to cancel the entire process. Now, there could be a reason for this. Either these people who were included were supposed to eventually meet certain agreements with the pre-agreements that will be there when they meet the fold. The other one is because you want to delay the process, adulterate it so that there's a reason to cancel it and then start afresh, because then you need to delay it for whatever sinister motive that you have. Whichever way, it is wrong, because then it's, as we speak, if this is true, it holds that the wrong has been committed. The process can't, in fact, proceed. It can't be that we remove those that have been added because others were already there. It is that the entire process is adulterated. But put it the other way also. We, as Kenyans, would look at the list and look at the names. When we look at the names, we'll go further and look at who these people are. Yes. We'll even look at the ethnicity of those names. When we get there, therefore, it becomes even more suspicious. Remember, the integrity of the process is not the ballot that I cast. It is the entire process, including the fact that those men and women who are put there to take care of my vote and cumulatively all the votes until I get a leader, the process is sanctified through what I have prescribed through Parliament and the Constitution as the law that will guide me. Remember, it needs we don't just need an election and a result. We need a credible election and a result that has been seen to be, that has been felt to be, and has been experienced to be.
But when you look at this, Wakili, I'll come back to that shortly. But Kimani, this basically is going to invalidate the entire shortlist. I mean, the entire process, because, again, just to pick from what Wakili has said, it's going to be questionable from the beginning until the last vote is counted, probably in 2027, because many people will ask questions. This was not supposed to be here. It's the entire process.
Firstly, if I'm right, is that we had over 1,000 people who applied. The selecting panel shortlisted 105, but then they added another 6. So these 6 had already applied for the jobs, only that they were not listed in the first shortlist. So in their dedunum that was added to the list, they added the 6 names, days to the interviews beginning. While it might, Keith is the lawyer, the implication is well, but then it is also good to note that they had applied. They were not in the first shortlist. There was an addition to the shortlist that brought the list to 111 from 105. But what is important is that this process is an emotive process, because people look at this panel and expect that the panel will give the people who will arbitrate in our electioneering process as a nation. We know how emotive, again, our electioneering process is as a nation. So while what concerns me most is the opaque nature through which they added the 6 names, the lack of explanation why this was done, because you can't just tell us that you looked into the big list and found that you needed to add a few names. It appears from the common man's eye that maybe there is a big boy who called and said, add these names.
Or a big girl.
Or a big girl, for that matter. Now, if that happens, then the question is, how can we trust the entire process that it is not being managed? Because we say that politics is perception. So how we perceive it matters a lot. We must be convinced beyond a reasonable doubts that whatever is being done for the greater good of the nation, and not to serve the interest of an individual. So the process matters more than even the outcome of that process. If you give us a list of individuals we are convinced aren't there to serve our interests, then we have no trust in the entire process. And you know what that means come 2027, on August 10, when we go for elections, with a commission we do not trust, or a commission that, because politicians will always be there to tell us that these people are picked to serve somebody's interest, and then it happens that things happen that, like they always do, and then we don't trust what happened in those closed doors. So the danger with what they are doing, whether well-intentioned or not, is to erode the trust of the people in the process.
Yeah, yeah.
And they know that this process should be watertight. We should be convinced from the inception to the end that everything that the selecting panel is doing for the nation, not for individuals or for parties. But now when they start doing this, it is a dangerous thing that whose outcome should be anticipated by the panel itself. And it is something that should be very well explained. Now the danger again is anybody can go to court to challenge the process. Remember, we are already over 2 years late in this process.
Yeah.
Because the law demands that once an office falls vacant, within 14 days we should start the process to fill that office. This office fell vacant in 2023, January. We are in 2025, May. 2 years, 4 months late. We are supposed to have done the elimination, which we haven't done. We are supposed to have been updating our records. There were those institutional reforms that we should have done. We are so much behind that there shouldn't be some monkey businesses with the selecting panel, because if anybody goes to court and happens to delay this process further, it is going to hurt us like you can't even believe it.
Okay.
Because IBC must be fully in office at least 2 years, Bwana Wakili. At least 2 years in office before elections come.
Yeah.
Think about it. We are in 2025. Almost 2 years to elections, and we still are selecting the commissioners, and somebody is still playing monkey business of adding names to an already complete list. It's very dangerous.
I mean, when you look at that, again, Wakili, how would that be when someone goes to court? Does it invalidate the entire list or the entire process, or just the 6 who are
there's something we call good faith in law. Good faith is an issue of fact that ought to be demonstrated. If you sit as a panel and shortlist people, out of 100, you take 10. You then publish that to those that were in competition, meaning the other 90 have been left out. And the public settles at the list of 10 for purposes onward interviews. And that gets settled at that point, no problem. And there's no bad faith. Now, when you select 5 more out of the remainder of the 19, out of the 100, and you bring them to the fold, what will you justify as the good reason, the good faith, for having them left them out, got another 5, and then left the other 85, and do they qualify? Because then what you would say is either you interview everyone who has applied and qualified on account of the basics that are required, or if then you shortlist people, you shortlist those that are foremost, you've decided. But you do not make a decision that this is the list we want. Go back and fish others and bring them. Go back and fish, because then it can be done as multiple times as possible. That is the demonstration of bad faith. Bad faith is something then that is not within the norm. And the norm has been that what you publish is what you interview. But if you continue to republishing, it gives the notion that you are bringing to the fold convenience, and that you've left out certain convenience and you're bringing back to the fold on account of certain things that were not addressed at the time. If you do not address the issues, the quality at the time, then cancel everything and say we don't have the quality, and therefore bring more advertisements. In fact, at times you cancel everything or you interview, but if you've not found a correct person, you say those that have already applied need not apply, but we are advertising again. Remember, there are people who are more qualified than the list that was there that did not apply. They won't get a chance because they did not meet the timelines within which, the bracket within which they ought to have made the application. Even those probably would have been given a chance for the extension, because it means, what is it you're addressing? There must be a gap that you're addressing when you're adding other people. Is it that there's a minimum number of people that you ought to interview? If it is not true, then there's no good reason. And that's what you're saying. By addition of other people is bad faith and therefore adulterates the entire cocktail of the people that are being interviewed, because the involvement of foreign elements from the first edition of publishment, that in itself is bad faith. Yeah. And in effect, therefore, as we say, procedure is the handmaiden of substance. The substance will be as good as the procedure that was followed. If the procedure is adulterated, even the outcome in itself becomes illegal.
Let's take a break. When we come back with more, stay with us.
Pindi tunapowasha vifaa vyetu, tunapata fursa ya kutangamana na wasikilizaji wetu.
Karibu sana thĩinĩ wa tabarĩra ya Rwiga.
Tunapeperusha utangazaji uliobobea katika habari,
nĩ ũndũ wa macio na mangĩ maingĩ,
burudani,
nĩ harĩa tũkoragwo tũkĩigua nyĩmbo mwaki nyĩmbo hota,
na hamasisho la kiroho. Usiachwe nyuma. Jiunge nasi kwa safari ya kufana katika 99.5 FM. Soro FM.
Usafi umegawanyika sampuli mbili: at-taharatu al-ma'nawiyya ay al-qalbiyya, usafi wa kimoyo, na pia at-taharatu al-badaniyya al-hissiyya, bimaana usafi wa kimwili. Kwa sasa Muislamu lazima ajipambe na vitu hivi vyote viwili, aonekane ndani na nje, aonekane kuwa ni msafi.
Usafi wa moyo unapatikana kwa kumcha Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, kujiepusha na makatazo ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, na vile vile pia kuondoa chuki, wivu na unafiki, ama mambo yote ambayo yanaweza kuharibu imani ya mja.
Huyu karani, huyu sijui ni karani ama
anakuchoma na nini?
Ananichoma na hichi pala. Wewe ni hiyo kichwa vile na meremeta.
Yeye ameenda akatoboa septic tank ya mtu mwingine akajaza ya jirani.
Kuna wakati nilileta hanisaka ikuje leta uchafu kwa septic yanga.
Ayu anisaka.
Ati?
Ayu anisaka. Did I any confirmation of
wewe
amechanganyikiwa na maisha mheshimiwa.
Wewe ndio umechanganyikiwa. Unafanya nini huko ukifanya kama ujenzi wa taifa hivi?
Ama chop winners mheshimiwa. Chop winners.
Welcome back. So, which way Kenya? That is where we are today. In the last couple of months, we've seen cases of chaos rocking the country in political events or even church gatherings, the latest one being over the weekend where Goons attacked a church function in Mwiki where the former deputy president was. But we've seen a series of such in the country. So the question is, how do we stabilize this so that we have a clean environment where Wanjiku, either going to church or a political rally, Wanjiku can just have it easy, and even politicians can also have it easy with their functions in the country. So let me just come back to you, Kimani. As a public policy analyst, where are we as a nation? Are we glorifying violence? Is it part and parcel of our politics? Should we just normalize it and say, okay, this is us and let's do we?
Firstly,
what you can do best?
The only way to get to know the owner of the goons or the violence is who benefits from it.
Yeah.
And whose interest do they seem to serve whenever they are on the leash. Then if you follow the footprints, it will take you to the owner. In this case, it is undoubtedly the government of Kenya in two ways. If it wasn't the one unleashing the goons, then it has failed in containing them. We saw when the president was on the tour of Nairobi, wherever the president ended the tour, then there were these goons unleashed on the innocent Kenyans who snatched their mobile phones, stole their money, and to some extent beat the people. Now, we would have expected the Inspector General of the Police to give a presser, harshly warn the goons, and even take actions.
Action was taken. A couple of guys were arrested.
It went on, but the fact is that this whole thing was repeated for all the days the president was in Nairobi. And it used to happen like it was spontaneous. It was known. In fact, Kenyans were even warning that if the president is on this route, you guys be careful. Because immediately the president is done, there will be the goons doing their thing. Now, a former deputy president goes to church, and then goons all of a sudden shows up, wreak havoc, cause mayhem, demand some funny demands. But then at the end of the day, this political intolerance, the unleashing of goons on what you consider as dissidents, is a strategy implemented by exploitative regimes to intimidate the voice of dissent. It is a dangerous one because what it does in the end is that it strengthens the resolve of even the proscribed gangs.
Yeah.
We have seen Mungiki in Mount Kenya getting a reelection. You remember the Kibaki regime had ended it.
Allegedly, is it there?
You see, whenever you see Maina Jenga and his goons being mentioned here and there, with the happenings that we are also witnessing, because again, something that has not been the norm of Mount Kenya politics is that of late Mount Kenya politics are also becoming violent. It is a thing that was not there for quite some time. But then it is almost back. The question is, what is the police which has the mandate, the wherewithal, the ability and everything to handle these gangs? What is it doing? We have a functional NIS in the nation that would have told the Kenya police there would be chaos in the church tomorrow. We should have seen a high number of police officers manning the premises because they have intelligence that there would be goons. That's how a functional system works.
Yeah.
In absence of that, and since the government has not become incapable of telling or collecting intelligence and telling that it will happen, and they do not do or take measures to counter it, then it can only be said that the government is allowing it to happen and emboldening the actions of the goons, which is why I'm blaming it entirely on the actions, on the lack of it, by the government.
Yeah.
The danger with it, as I've said, is that it strengthens other proscribed organizations.
Which is dangerous to the country.
That maybe we have some leeway we can exploit and make money in the process.
Okay.
Now, when you allow these monsters to grow, they grow to a point where it becomes difficult to contain them. And in the process, you end up hurting the people. Firstly, by you put fear in people's hearts. They will stop attending those churches whenever politicians are coming, therefore interfering with their freedom to worship. So at the end of the day, the government has to ask itself a question. if it has issues with somebody who wishes to attend a service or somewhere, will they use goons to do so and in the process hurt its own people, or will they let the Constitution of Kenya remain supreme as it is and allow for freedom of association?
Okay. Let's take a break. Wakili, based on that same question, are we glorifying what we're seeing? And the question is, which way Kenya? Because almost every weekend we witness this. Almost every weekend.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's true. The intent of politics and a politician is to conquer and dominate. And therefore, you want to conquer and dominate over the populace and over your rivals. So what you do in the instance, you pump fear into the hearts of your opponent through actions as would intimidate and probably deter them from the functionality of the political process, causation of it being to interact and talk to the people out there, express yourself probably in manners that are uncomfortable with the existing political environment. For instance, if you will be in power, it is very irritating for a person to persistently, consistently, insistently, continuously cajole you into the ignominy of corruption, the ignominy of tribalism, and all those accusations as with the attendance to that environment. But the problem is, that's the law. The problem is, that's democracy. In fact, it is what it's supposed to be. So those that are in power would cry foul over, probably look upon those that criticize them as irritants and people who want to grab power from them. And therefore, they would want to continue to exist. And this happens everywhere, whether at the governor's level, MCA level, whatever it is. Number two is those that are outside will then, barring any fatalities, would want that to be a continuous process because at the end of the day, it publicizes them as victims.
Yes.
Now, the political victimization in this country usually gets traction very fast. When Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto then were vying for presidency as a joint ticket, the driver was because somebody somewhere opened his mouth and said, choices.
Yeah.
And that was a white man, no, a black man in a white man's country. Choices have implications. And we were being told off and being talked to in a manner that was very derogatory because we were being warned against electing them. And we elected them, and the sun rose and it dipped over the days until today. When you cajole and force into submission people in Kenya, what I understand, especially for the politics of Central, they don't get subdued. You actually then infectiously spread the word of victimization. And that is what then the politics of Central Kenya ordinarily will thrive on. When Rigiji continues to play victim, as continuously and as, he continues to play it the way he is, people watch and people listen. If you ignore him, there'll be nothing to watch and to listen to. In fact, it is just a few months ago, probably 8 months ago, and before the impeachment, that Rigiji was a nobody. We only had him talking of shareholders. And we will condemn him for that because it looked then an ethnic predilection at the time. But now, every Kenyan would listen to him because it is sweet voice. It is sounding sweet to try and unravel the mystery, what happens in the powers.
Yes.
So when people sit down and make the deals as they were doing, because I don't think he didn't participate in one of those things. He was part of that college of execution at State House. But now he has a chance to report because you are giving him a platform of victimization upon which he can fight back through words. Now we listen to words. What else do we listen to as Kenyans? It is from the words that we hear what is in the heart or mind. Okay. It is from the words that we will make judgment as to who is good and bad. And by the way, it is not for us to judge a person who is not in office. We judge the person who is on the seat.
But then again, gentlemen, when you look at it, we are inching closer to 2027. And this is, every Kenyan's focus right now is 2027 election. There's nothing so big ahead of us right now, apart from 2027. But we have got the democratic progress that Kenya has been making over the years. How will this erode the institution of, that we are proud of ourselves, we are priding ourselves in as Kenyans, the institutions of probably judiciary? How will judiciary take care of such kind of political players whenever there are problems? Are they friends? Mwananchi will be just out there watching. But the question is, how will this affect the democratic progress that we have made so far as a nation? Kimani?
My fear is that we are heading to general elections in 2 years.
Yes.
And these goons are on the leash as early as 2 years before.
Yes.
And right now, what we would be seeing is swift action by the police to counter the goons. I normally say that it is not more of rotten apples. It is rotten barrels in which apples are put that could have a bigger implication. We can pick out one rotten apple and throw it away. But then when you have a bad barrel in which you put all your apples, then you have a bigger problem. Now, our biggest problem seems not to be about bad politicians who have hired goons for them to serve their interests, but a bad system that refuses to counter an ugly upcoming scenario that will have far-reaching repercussions by the time we get to 2027. Now imagine, now we are in 2027 with thousands of politicians vying for positions, and each politician having learned that the only way to quiet or intimidate your opponents is to have goons. Now you can imagine thousands of politicians, each with their goons. Firstly is that they are going to overrun the police system in this nation. Because if you are unable to handle the small clusters of goons today, when there is peace and calmness, what about when there is the cacophony of the political dean, everybody is here shouting, doing their stuff, campaigning with goons following them? It will be chaotic and governable. And now tell me, how will that electioneering system give us leaders that we can trust to take Kenya forward from 2027 to 2032?
But are we just normalizing this?
Now the danger is that the police is failing to disenfranchise these goons, and by failing to do so, they are bequeathing us a very big problem in 2027. A scenario where even the will of the people will not be upheld by the IEBC, no matter how much it tries, because there will be too much intimidations of candidates in 2027 by goons owned by these politicians. You get what I'm saying?
Sure.
Now, anybody in the security apparatus and systems of this nation ought to see where we are headed to, and crack heavily on these gangs today, so that nobody will be entertained to have them in 2027 when they can overrun the system. Now, the government may play around with them because today they are serving their interests, and they may not question them so much because they're inflicting fear on a few dissidents today. What about when they glow full throttle in 2027?
And they're now fully charged.
And they are fully charged, and they're even emboldened because they serve politicians who are untouchable, especially those on the side of the government. It is a scenario we do not want to go into. But because we have a government, in one way or another, we can't tell what kind of government we have in place. When we have and we hear the allegations coming from people like former Deputy President, as Wakili is insinuating, it scares you to the bone. That a president whose main concern should be the welfare of the people of the Republic is engaged on actions that jeopardizes the welfare of the people.
Okay, but then...
So when you put all those things into perspective, we have a lot to do to change and improve before 2027.
When you look at the democratic space, thank you Kimani, but when you look at the democratic progress, Wakili, as well, is it in danger?
Yes. Yes. Constructive is so. You see, action begets a reaction. Let's look at a politician, normal Kenyan politician, who then cannot go through his normal craft of politicking. He can't meet people in the streets because they are goons of the opponent or whoever is in leadership. Whether it's an MC or governor, because he has goons. Now, what's my reaction if it was me? I then need to get my own goons so that when I go out, I'm protected by the goons.
Yes.
Now,
why are you not protected by your word? I mean,
yes. Now listen to this.
You know, you've been in the political circle for some time.
Yes.
Why are you not protected by your word and policies and your manifesto?
Exactly. It ought to be the ideal.
Yes.
But you see, when you go out with that card, you are at the podium. You are telling people what you will do for them. But people come and destroy the dust. They beat up the people there and you scamper for safety. In fact, at times, as we've seen, gunshots are sounding.
Yeah.
People are scared. You will not have the democratic right and space at that time within which you can express yourself and the right, therefore, to submit yourself as a candidate to the people. Whereas when the person has goons in the same stage and atmosphere, he's protected by the goons. For you, therefore, to thrive as he would, you do the same thing as a reaction of the action that he has done. So you also get your own goons.
An eye for
pay
an
them,
eye?
Yes, pay them so that then you can get your democratic space because there's no policeman to guard you because the police then are beholden to the stricture of statecraft whereby they will do what the state either wants or is perceived to want. Not necessarily the state meaning the republic, but the state at the time meaning that the existential power, maybe the governor, the senator, the MP. It depends on the circumstances. What we are saying is, it is not good. The question you asked and we are addressing here is it good for democracy? No. Because I will react, like I've said, the action of subduing me through the goons.
Yes.
Is then a communication to me that is the environment existing upon which I should thrive to. Meaning, therefore, it's goons, I do goons. It's peace, I do peace. Because how else would I then have the liberty of my environment and secure my liberty to be able to talk? If I have to work with people on my side, built up people, men and women, or men for that matter, who then will protect me, I'll do it. Because that's the only way I can come out of my house. And by the way, look at this way. There's no way you're going to put Kenyans into their houses because there are goons out there. No, we will walk out and we'll find a way of dealing with the situation.
So does it build someone's political
capital? But the law is clear. I give everything to the state to protect me except self-defense. Self-defense means also getting goons in order for me to exist. And that's self-defense. How else would they operate? So you bring goons, it looks now okay. Like my good friend has said, it looks okay because it serves the establishment as is, whatever establishment it is at whatever level you want to look at it. But when people react, and they will, it won't be good, even to the state itself. So democracy has certain prescriptions. One of it is peace. Respect to boundaries set out in law. Meaning, the police protect me because it has a duty. But whether I'm in the opposition or in government, that's it.
But does constitution and law apply when goons are unleashed and political players are just running amok?
You know, I have no reason to agree with anyone who says there's justification for goons going to disrupt any rally, even if it is a rally of a chama. There's no justification. We pay in this country to live. We are not here for free, but we pay for service. One of it is security. So you can't tell me that you can disrupt my rally and tomorrow you put the same rally and it's not disrupted. Why so? So that you have 2 hours to express yourself to the people. I don't have. I will get those 2 hours. Somehow, somewhat. If the police won't give it to me or guarantee to me, I'll find out guaranteeing to me. That's why, therefore, people in Kenya they hire their own security to their doors who open for them. We don't need to do that. We don't need to have watchmen at our doorsteps if there was no insecurity. But the perception of insecurity, therefore, secures us to go on our own personal initiative to secure ourselves, including for politicians who won't have that chance.
If we don't have political intolerance, where such kind of chaos is witnessed, then I stand very slim chances of winning a political seat.
And by the way, that becomes one of reasons we will see politicians table in court to nullify elections. Because if you deny me a conducive environment to campaign through mayhem and chaos, then that election cannot be said to be free and fair, which is a democratic requirement of our elections, that they must be free and fair. It can't be free and fair when I was not able to campaign because my opponents had goons unleashed against me wherever I went into public. And by the way, it is potent enough for judge to declare that election not free and fair. Now
on what basis?
On the basis that violence and chaos meted on politicians who are campaigning. Now, in other words, what we are saying is that we are setting very bad precedent. And it is so sad when this happens and the government seems okay with it, because allegedly it serves its interests today. Because tomorrow is coming where we need to set boundaries so clear that when people go out to campaign, they must be allowed to campaign, as is a requirement by the Elections Act of this nation. Now, the only thing we can do is to call upon the government and especially the IG to know that whatever it is they are allowing to grow, when it grows full cycle, they won't be able to handle it. And as Wakili is saying, another danger of it is that the people are innately wired to defend themselves where the government fails to defend them. You remember the chaos and the mayhem that was caused by Mungiki in Mount Kenya a few years back. It warranted a retaliation by the people, and there were gangs that took it upon themselves to even hang those they suspected to be Mungiki. Now imagine a scenario where this is not happening in Nairobi, but happening in many parts of the nation. We are birthing something we may not be able to counter when it grows full cycle. It's a very dangerous precedent we are setting. The government should be ashamed of itself for unleashing or allowing these gangs to thrive today. They should crack on them very seriously and make sure that this does not become the norm.
And by the way, it's not available for a government to say that's not our gang. It's not available. There should be no gang, whether pro-government or against government, pro-candidate, that is pro-government, or otherwise. It is not available for government to tolerate any gang. So it is not a defense to here, and it's not available for any officialdom to be had today to be saying that is not, those are not our people, that gang is not ours. It should not even exist in the first place.
Yes.
Whether anti-pro-government, it shouldn't even exist. Whether chanting for or against government, it should not even exist. We should not have gangs in this country. We shouldn't.
How does this is the question, as we go for a break. So how does this really affect the political DNA of a nation?
Let me give an example.
Of Kenya.
Let me give an example. So in Rwanda...
Take a break?
Yes.
Yeah, let's take a break. When we come back, that's the question I want to ask. How does it really affect the political DNA of a nation so that we have a younger generation coming up, and much as the seniors in the political arena are trying to make it cleaner, or let's call it the Gen Z, are trying to make it clean, that our politics should be issue-based, ideals, give me your policies, stand there and sell your policies creatively. But we see some pockets of violence across the country. So how does it affect the DNA or political system in the country, even moving forward? Can we actually even run away from it? Let's take a break and we'll come back to brilliant brains answering such questions. My name is Victor. Stay with us.
Kwa nini tuandike na mate ilhali wino uliokolea wa samawi na mweusi upo?
Elimu ni taa inayoangaza giza linalojitokeza, ni chemichemi ya maarifa inayotoa mvua ya busara.
Soko ya vipaji yamejaa.
Katika maisha hii, watu wengi sana wanatumia talanta yao ili kupata riziki, kama vile densi. Wengi wao tunaona kwenye televisheni na mtandao. Hapo ndipo anapata riziki na chakula cha kila siku.
Kwa hivyo talanta inalipa. Unakubaliana Rashid?
Uhaba wa fursa. Kuna watu ambao wako na talanta lakini sio wote hupaswa upata kujulikana.
Tunga sentensi yoyote ile kwa kuzingatia kivumishi cha a unganifu.
Greetings in the name of the Most High Jah Rastafari. My good name is Mali Moses, the positive warrior, alongside...
Yes, sir, DJ D-Rage, the baddest. Each and every Wednesday from 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 TV.
Tunakuletea the biggest reggae party in 254 in a yard extra. Extra niceness of reggae music.
Extra dose of entertainment.
When the thing is nice,
we have to do it twice.
Usafi umegawanyika sampuli mbili. At-taharatu al-ma'nawiyya ay al-qalbiyya, usafi wa kimoyo, na pia at-taharatu al-badaniyya al-hissiyya, bimaana usafi wa kimwili. Kwa sasa Muislamu lazima ajipambe na vitu hivi vyote viwili, aonekane ndani na nje, aonekane kuwa ni msafi.
Usafi wa moyo unapatikana kwa kumcha Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, kujiepusha na makatazo ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, na vile vile pia kuondoa chuki, wivu na unafiki, ama mambo yote ambayo yanaweza kuharibu imani ya mja.
All right, political intolerance that we are witnessing in the country, how do we get it right? And is it imprinted in our political DNA? Before we took a break, Kimani,
yes,
how does it affect our political DNA? Remember, we have got a younger generation with ambitions. Okay? Go ahead.
Now the problem is there is a scenario we call man ke si, man ke do. In my mother tongue, we say even the leopard didn't know how to scratch until they showed it how to do so. The problem again is that the unemployment rates in this nation is very high. Now, when you create a scenario that goons can benefit themselves from the security lapse by the police, whenever there is a political event, the jobless younger generations and those desperate at it may look at it as a way of earning some reprieve from the spasms of hunger that they suffer from. so that they will come out whenever there is a political event with hope that after the event is done, there will be chaos, and in the milieu of the chaos, they may get a thing or two for themselves to go back home with. You remember the demonstrations, the post-election demonstrations, and how gangs came from slums and compensated for themselves by breaking into people's shops and stealing. That becomes now a norm, not necessarily when there is demonstrations, but whenever there is a small political event. Gangs will come out, blow them out of proportion, wreak havoc, and in the process they are going to steal and compensate themselves for attending into those rallies. If it goes unchecked, that becomes a habit for the jobless, brass and young people to do so. And it is something that the government cannot dare to allow to happen, because it becomes our nature now. That because we are jobless and there is a political event, then we go there not necessarily to listen to what they are saying, but to wreak havoc, and in the milieu we compensate ourselves. Yes. That is the danger of what we are doing, because that now becomes our way of politicking. And it will be very difficult for the police to counter it, because they would have allowed it to grow beyond what they can handle.
Okay. Wakili, when you look at it, there is that aspect of our political DNA, of course. Kenyans drink, sleep, walk, talk politics. Everything is about us is just politics. Is it possible for us to get away from it and get it clean? How do we use this word, sanitize it, so that it looks, better?
Now, let me put it this way. It's not that bad yet. It's not. But we must be warned that it can get where we don't want it to get. We lapsed a bit substantially because of politics in 2007, 2008. We thought we can't get there because we use our mouth and words to speak at each other or with each other. But then it's all a question of leadership. If the government did not deploy an environment or predispose the country to an environment of politics, we would be having this discussion. In fact, the discussion a day or so before by Rigathi Gachagua on what he did, upon which the political decibels went a notch higher, wouldn't have happened. Yeah. It started with someone to dispose this country into an electioneering mode. Somebody somewhere is campaigning. In Nairobi, in Central, in other places at the coast. It means, therefore, if you're campaigning, we campaign. If you campaign, we critique. If you campaign, then we have to audit you. It means, therefore, we say the bad things that you've done. And therefore, you foment an environment of displeasure among the people. And in that cycle, therefore, you must agree to the displeasure of the people, because that's the critique and the audit that we give you. Yeah. So once you start campaigning, allow us, therefore, to talk down at you. In doing so, you must be tolerant enough to the bitter words that we come out with, because that is democracy. Suffice it to say, therefore, that this was not started by Kenyans. It was started by those that in power to socialize the Kenyans and manage them in a certain national psyche towards a certain movement, or orient them in a certain predisposition of a political mood and the political bickering that we are, because that is a season that has been introduced to us. So what else do we do? You tell us you've constructed roads, we tell you no. There are no roads that you've constructed, because there are none that we are seeing. You tell us that you've improved the economy, you say no, you have not improved the economy because we are suffering and children are not going to school, and so on and so forth. So therefore, that, like I've said, if you have a certain action, you then predispose us to a reaction, because that's how the equilibrium is sought in society. Yeah. What then should be the cue? I think the horse has bolted. We are already in a campaign mood as it is. If you're a politician worth your salt and you're not campaigning now or planning your campaign, then honestly, you have no business making the political field or in the business of politics, because then it is beyond your control. It has been made available for you to be able to engage into. And for the public also, If you are worth your salt as a Kenyan citizen, you must be predisposed to the good and the bad of this country, and therefore voice yourself out for the reason that this is your life and you have no other place to go to. What is therefore happening is that we are then, in an essence, engaging ourselves into a movement towards the next 2 years of political management or political discussions, and at times, as bitterly as should be. The only issue we are saying is, can this be done? Whatever decibels that we get into, must it get violent? No, it doesn't have to. But then who introduces into the violence that we're experiencing? It is not the people. The people, honestly, who are going about their craft every day. Those that in matatus, those that are going to offices, were doing their craft. But then somebody somewhere came to Nairobi, and there was violence. And then the next is that the violence is transported to somewhere in Mwiki. And then the violence will surely be transported somewhere else, and that's the build-up of violence. Who introduced the violence? If you ask you, who introduced the violence at that time? It is not the people. And this country has fertile ground for violence because there are people who are jobless. If violence gives me food when I don't have food, then why can't I get the food?
That's a very big question. It's a fertile ground for violence.
Yes.
But then now, so there are two things here, violence and economy. So how will this, or how would it affect the economic growth that Kenya is actually, we are trying to stabilize everything. But generally speaking, how does it affect, not even violence per se, but political intolerance? How does it affect political economic growth?
Money follows stability. You can't invest in an unstable environment. So when you disturb the water, the first people you scare out of the economy are investors because of the losses.
But do you think there's some politicians who benefit from economically when there is violence?
Yes,
or intolerance?
You know, politicians are sometimes very selfish beings because politics is about who gets what, when, and how.
So the big question is how?
Now, the how is what matters most. If political violence will get me closer to attaining political power, then it is a tool I may be tempted heavily to use as a politician. How this affects the lives of people, to a politician whose self-interests come first or are superior to the interest of the people, it doesn't matter. That is why we have full-blown chaos in countries like Sudan, South Sudan, DRC, because in as much as the people are affected, these chaos and violences have political interests. The danger with it is economically, every unstable country is unstable economically. Because it goes without saying that if I'm an investor in a place that becomes chaotic, my first instinct is to protect my business. And the best way to protect it at that moment is to close down and shift to safer places. Now, FDIs will become the first to be scared away. Foreign investors. The moment we allow goons to thrive, the moment people can't be assured that my chain of retailers that I'm establishing, look at what is happening in Kenya. Look at, for instance, Quickmart, Naivas. They are being acquired by foreign investors who are coming, buying shares into these thriving retailers and pumping in money to grow them. That's why they are growing. Namagunas, Naivas, Quickmart, they are growing very, very rapidly. Now, what happens when you have goons who will break into Magunas tomorrow they break into Quickmart the other day? Foreign investors will fold up and tell guys, hey gentlemen, we have to get back our money and invest it elsewhere. Your environment is no longer safe. Manufacturers also. When there is an exit of investors, then the economy suffers as a result of job loss and loss of income. And that is why we are saying any government that cannot see the repercussions of what it is allowing to thrive today once it goes full cycle is an incompetent government that should think twice of its being in power.
Okay, okay. And even how do we make it clean? I mean, again, you've tested it before. Is there a way to make it sanitized? Is it even possible?
Yes, it is, but it's very progressive. It takes a lot of time to get to that.
So that's why you resolve to what is immediate and possible.
Yes, you know, politics is predisposed to quick fixing.
Yeah,
you secure the environment for your existential present, and the future will obviously reorganize itself. But this is what happens. Democracy also has its folly, and we must accept that. Democracy predisposes this, that you are a society, after a cycle of 5 years, you divide yourselves into whichever division that you want, because it's not prescribed. Religious, ethnic, gender, whatever you want, divide yourself. And you must, as a society, bias yourself for favor through that bias of someone, so that that person then becomes president, becomes governor, becomes this and that. So election process is a process of expressing biases for someone, but that bias is not controlled at the back office by norms. So then, if I elect you because you gave me 200 shillings, that's good enough. And I have a right to do it because it's my right to vote. And sometimes it's fissures that are unreasonable. Remember, a voter is an emotionalized citizen. It's not the normal citizen, you and me, are here reasoning. It's not the Kenyan who reasons and said, haki yangu, whatever it is. No. It is an emotionalized society. And therefore, where your emotional reason then takes the back end. Now, our common immediate fissure as society is ethnicity. We are seeing an emergence of the clarity of reason from the Gen Zs. But they're not in leadership yet. In fact, they're not the dominant generation. The dominant generation is the one that's adulterated into the ignominy of the culture of nepotism and tribalism and the bad things we're talking about every day.
Yeah.
We can talk about bad things, but that's just the talk. But we live the bad things because that's the life that we live. If I'm going to look for a job, who do I know? Can I call someone there who knows me to give me a job? Even at IEBC, if you know someone, your 6 names will be added into an existing name so that you get it. Because you know someone. How else can my name be added and your name? If your name is not known, it won't be added as part of the 6. But those 6 that were added at IEBC list is because they were known. I have seen their names. They are names that are common and are known. And we can analyze them. Ethnicity is therefore readable in those names. And brotherization and nepotism is rife. And they'll get to the helm somehow, somewhat. Like they say. You know, public affairs is very interesting. And this is Kenya. Anything is possible. You can get your cousin into leadership, no matter how the noise is, because after some time we forget. Now that is the problem, and the incurable problem we have with middle class, a very fearsome, risky, averse society. The middle class is such that when you own your M-Pesa and you have your car and your child goes to a middle class school, a private school and so on, you less want to disrupt that equilibrium. And therefore, when there's danger of disruption, especially through politics, you take a backseat. So you keep talking, talk and complain. When action is behooved of you, is the people in Kibera who will come out and the people in Mlango Kubwa who come out. In fact, is the people of Kibera and Mlango Kubwa who become tool of trade for the politicians because they're easy to manipulate and pay. You can pay a middle class person who goes to do his craft at a hospital or a law firm or in court or whatever it is you want. Because he won't agree, he won't take to 200 because he makes over 3,000 or 4,000, 5,000 a day. And therefore, as a society, we have not only the ethnic issue. For us to sanitize this way, there's a class stratification issue that has to be dealt with. It is not for the person of Kibera to fight for us as middle class so that then tomorrow you have a road. No, The person of Kibera will not fight for you because he'll go there to get money and fight for nothing. For the 200 shillings that he gets in order to disrupt and to become the goon. Because the person in Kibera is not a goon. He is made a goon by money given to him by a politician to behave like a goon. He wakes up every day.
Can we change the status quo?
No, we can't for now because it is controlled by government. Look, the government needs the goons, the politicians need the goons, society needs the goons. Because they pay them to activate a road upon which...
That is painful.
It is painful, but it is what it is. Look at it this way. The goon, nobody is a goon. Nobody. But you are made a goon. Activated. You activators are even you. When I give you 100,000 now and say abuse him, it's a good price to pay.
Especially if jobless.
Can you try right now? Can we just have it clean, Kimani? Because when you look at, do we have a chance of making it better as we move towards election? I'm still coming back to the younger generation because we need to give them a clean platform so that whatever they want to do, politically speaking, they need, truth be said, they're enlightened. And they need to come out with a different idea on how to express their political ideologies in a different way. Can we make it better? Wakili says,
No, we can. But again, it is incumbent of the government to do so. Now, the problem with it is we are asking the beneficiaries of the violence to end the violence. Now, this is how it all began. When the younger generations came out and told the president, you have to govern us in a better way, he unleashed all, if I refresh myself and say the government allegedly unleashed goons on them. You remember the demonstrations were infiltrated by goons. That whose intention was to scare away.
That was a word then.
Yes, or was to scare away demonstrators from getting into demonstrations. If it would be normal of a parent to call a son and tell the son, don't go there. There are goons that have now come up, and in the process of which you might end up getting hurt. So when it persisted, we saw abductions and killing of those who are actively engaged in these demonstrations. When the system appeared to be working, so it grew now to intimidation of political dissidents. So while it is true that if the government wanted, it can end it in a day, because we have a functional NIS that will tell you, including the person funding the chaos, if it wasn't coming from the government and the government was willing to bring an end to it. So you would start by arresting those who are funding before you come to those who are being misused to wreak havoc. So the government can do this. The question is the government willing and ready to disenfranchise these goons when it is the beneficiary of their services?
Okay.
Now, if it is not, and politically so it wouldn't be, then this one persists. And I agree with Wakili that it will persist because the only person who has the ability to end it is the beneficiary of the violence, and as a result of which, you don't end that which serves your interests.
Thank you.
That is why the best thing the government is telling us is that this is not our goon, as if the government should have its goons.
So the question is, which way Kenya?
Which way Kenya is a sad question, or it has a sad answer to it, because the way forward is in the hands of the beneficiaries of the violence. So we can only tell them that this may serve you today, it won't serve you tomorrow. And for the sake of Kenyans, stop it. And hope they will, because they wield all the instruments of power. When you have bad governance in place, as we do, because I call it so, because it has all the powers to end violence and it refuses. I'm not accusing it of having started it. I'm accusing it of refusing to end it when it can. The danger with that is that the people will perish. Okay. It becomes difficult for you to go to church. it becomes difficult for you to go out when there are political events. We are headed to 2027, and by the way, by close of this year, we'll go full throttle into campaigns. Then you can imagine how limited people will be in movement, in fear that once you go out, you are not assured that you're coming back with your phone, or you're coming back with your wallet, or that you're coming back with your car in one piece. So, so this must come to an end. Yes.
Okay. Wakili, which way Kenya?
Well, the beauty about Kenya is the Kenyans themselves. Kenyans may have a distorted, you know, there might be distortions in how you organize them by the leadership. But I can tell you something. The leaders of this country do not have total control of Kenyans. Kenyans have control of themselves. Not control their leaders, but have control of themselves. So the bad cannot override the good. At a point, Kenyans ordinarily congregate and sober up and say, you know what, we're not going to fight for this person. I want to say this. This is the first election that will be presided by the presidency of the time. The first election. Because all the time he's been vice president or deputy president. Now he's going to be the first election. There is a history to be made. Are you the violent president, or are you the did you foster a violent environment against which an election didn't take place? Or will you then foster a peaceful environment? And I like what he said, that if he loses election, he'll walk home. That's a good way to start. But again, I've not heard him condemn the violence. The fact remains that he must be the first person to talk against the violence, because we want to hear him say as much. And by the way, what is a crown? A crown is interpreted from the word and behavior. So if the president, you go to State House and the president says, I don't want to see that man, you will not leave at that place. You will not be there to submit your side. You won't be heard, because the handlers will not tolerate you there. So it means, therefore, his word and his action mean a lot. So the moment he condemns, it means there's a follow-through by action to those that are his handlers. It means if he doesn't say anything, then we call it in law acquiescence. It means, therefore, that you tolerate something without speaking against it. That's why in World Forum, you'll be told you don't tolerate, for instance, Al-Shabaab. Why don't you speak against it? It is because when you speak, it is actionized through the words that you use. So words are important. What it is, just to come back to your question, Kenyans organize themselves. The elasticity isn't much, because they know they have so much to lose if we get to violence. The appeal here is, it is us against them. So it is Kenyans against those that are in leadership that would probably organize them to a predisposition of violence. And violence begets more violence. Society, therefore, must coexist because it respects the borders set out in law. And we're not here to love each other. We don't have to. In fact, our duty is to tolerate each other by doing the things that we're supposed to do, but more importantly, not doing those things that we're not supposed to do. For instance, harming the next person. So the point remains that I do know that even if there is incitement and forming the people through inducement to money, inducement to benefits, to a predisposition of violence by those in leadership, that then has to stop at a point. And you know, money is perishable.
It is.
The value of money goes down at a point in time. You realize that if I hurt myself because of 1,000, either you bring 1,000 to 5,000, so I continue agreeing to hurt myself, or in the alternative, then I won't take the 1,000, because then it's valued because of the pain that I go through. If people go through pain, it stops, because then they can't tolerate the pain unless the price of the pain goes high. So we are saying Kenyans will survive this.
Very good.
We've been there before, and we'll survive this.
We'll survive this. Gentlemen, do you know what the beauty about is that when we talk about all this happening, we just hope that something is going to happen. And then later on, it will be so sad to see that we've talked about it on national television and then it continues. But I hope that politicians understand that. But to Kenya, let's be woke, let's do the right thing, and let's follow the law. Wakili will say you'll always follow the law. Wakili, right?
With fidelity.
With fidelity. Always follow the law. And by then, when you follow the law, you'll find yourself always A free man. A free man. That's what's happening. All right, that's where we wrap it. Wakili George Keith is an advocate of the High Court. Thank you so much for coming to the show. And Kimani, who is a public policy analyst and a political analyst as well. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming to the show. We just want to make it clear today that we need to make it good. My name is Victor Lo. Thank you for watching and have a good day. Bye-bye.
Huyu karani, huyu sijui ni karani ama
anakuchoma na nini?
Ananichoma na hichi pala. Wewe niyo chichwa vile na meremeta.
Yeye ameenda akatoboa septic tank ya mtu mwingine akajaza ya jirani.
Kuna wakati nileta hanisaka ikuje leta uchafu kwa septic yanga.
Ayu anisaka.
Ati?
Ayu anisaka. Did I any confirmation of
wewe
amechanganyikiwa na maisha mheshimiwa.
Wewe ndio umechanganyikiwa. Unafanya nini huko ukifanya kama ujenzi wa taifa hivi?
Ama chop winners mheshimiwa. Chop winners.
Friday night again. Greetings in the name of the Most High Jah Rastafari. My good name is Mali Moses, the positive warrior, alongside...
Yes, sir, DJ D-Rage, the baddest. Each and every Wednesday from 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 TV.
Tunakuletea the biggest reggae party in 254 in a yard extra. Extra niceness of reggae music.
Extra dose of entertainment.
When the thing is nice, we
have to do it twice.
Kenya's real estate market is evolving, with over 77% of rental properties being flats and apartments and an impressive 88.8% occupancy rate. The demand for housing has never been higher. But what's driving these trends? And how do regional disparities shape rental prices and investment opportunities?
I think a lot has brought growth into the Kenyan real estate sector over the past few years. I think there's been steady growth since 2016. 2016 was, I think, the year when there was the best performance in the real estate sector. A lot of this has been brought by infrastructural development. The government has been willing to spend on roads and power and water. These things, of course, make it for a very suitable market for real estate to grow as well, because it's very hard to come up with something where there's no access to it. You see, the Kenyan market is designed in such a way that the Chinese are here, the Turkish are here, they're developing, European countries are here. I think some of our infrastructural projects are even funded by Spain. So the ease of accessing the Kenyan market, even Arab markets are here, and also the ease of finance that has been there for quite some while.
According to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics Real Estate Survey of 2023-2024, flats and apartments now dominate Kenya's rental market, making up 77.1% of all properties. In Nairobi, this trend is even more pronounced, with 66.7% of all rentals being apartments. But why?
I think it's because of the demographics of the Kenyan population. The census that was done most recently showed that most of us are youth. Even here, most of us are the youth. So we have our families, they are growing. So you want to bring up your family in a comfortable unit. The most comfortable unit for that is a 3-bedroom because it allows you to have the master bedroom, it allows you to have the kids' bedroom and a spare bedroom, maybe for visitors, the house manager, and everyone else. I think also the growth of the 3-bedroom units, has been around the suburbs where we are having master planned estates coming up. So with that master planning, when you do a survey as a developer, when you do a survey and you see where there is a gap, then you see there is a gap in the 3-bedroom where you want to cater for a family. And you'll see that also for a family, when I'm buying a unit for my family, I'm willing to also get a mortgage for it. So with the growth of the KMRC sector, the Kenya Mortgage and Refinancing Institution, and the SACCOs giving these mortgage loans, then it's a sweet blend where the 3-bedroom is very affordable and marketable and also very attractive because we are a young population. We want something we can have our family growing comfortably, and there is finance that you can access for that.
Despite high rental costs, demand remains strong. For instance, in 2023, 88.8% of rental properties were leased, a clear indicator of Kenya's housing shortage.
I think it's a broad issue. First of all, I would start with the way the market started. A lot of what is done in the residential market is off-plan sales, and there's been a lot of fraudulent activities. So people are hesitant to invest before you see the unit. Yeah? So you'll hold your breath. You'll see there's maybe a development coming somewhere. Then you'll tell yourself, let me come next month to see whether they've grown and to see whether they've delivered. I can also say that because of the impact 2024 has had on our pockets as Kenyans, I know there was a report done that said that Kenyans are willing to spend more on a smaller unit so long as it's affordable and gives them access to amenities, closer access to work, such that they just want the unit in a place that's accessible than where they can get, maybe you travel longer to get to your 3-bedroom unit.
Not all rentals cost the same. A 1-bedroom bungalow rents for as low as 15,000 shillings, while a 4-bedroom bungalow can go as high as 170,000 shillings. Townhouses in particular attract premium prices of up to 120,000 for a 2-bedroom unit.
For the buyer, it's more than just the unit. So even though they are buying it for investment and not even to live in, they will then check, where is this I'm buying? Let's say if I'm a buyer and I want to buy a unit for an Airbnb. So if it's like a 2-bedroom, I want it closest to the market I'm targeting. So I'll go closer to the market than further away. So maybe if there's a 2-bedroom that's bigger, but it's further away from the market I'm targeting, I will still angle towards the one that's closer, just because it brings people easily to your apartment, So there are a lot of factors that people consider. And when you're looking at something like a 3-bedroom unit, it's a family unit. It's wholly a family unit. You don't buy a 3-bedroom unit, then use it as an Airbnb. It's very complicated to do that because of even the space, yeah? So it's something someone has to make an emotional decision about. And when they're making that emotional decision, they have to consider their family, their work, everything has to be considered, and overall the affordability of the unit, yeah?
For investors, rental yields matter. Bedsitters and studio apartments record the lowest yield at just 2.2%, while 2-bedroom townhouses lead with 8.3%. With economic trends, demographic shifts, and regional disparities shaping the market, what does the future hold?
The real estate sector is a good opportunity for growth, either as a developer or an investor. And I think it's something that even the young people should be willing to pick up. You can start as small as with a studio. So it's something that I think it's a sector that's growing, and because it's a basic need, housing is a basic need. At the end of the day, you can't live without a house. So it offers many opportunities. whichever angle you want to come in from. You want to be a property manager, there's a lot to manage. You want to be a developer, there are so many ways of being a developer nowadays. You can even just buy stake into a development company and be a developer yourself.
From high-rise apartments to luxurious townhouses, Kenya's rental landscape continues to evolve. For tenants, landlords, and investors, understanding these changes is the key to making informed decisions in an ever-growing market.
We are looking into cybersecurity. Our topic of conversation is building resilience in cybersecurity. And with me in our studio right now, on my immediate right, we have Danstan Akwiri. He is the Vice President, CyberPro Global. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
All right, and on my far right, we have Tyson Gitonga, who is a Business Development Manager. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show today as we just shed light on building resilience in cybersecurity. If we can just begin with defining what cybersecurity resilience is. Let's start with your query.
Thank you, Vivian, again for having me on the show. So there is a difference between cybersecurity protection and cyber resilience. So cyber resilience is the ability to be able to not only prepare for and respond to cyber attacks, but at the same time maintain business continuity, which is very key and very essential. Because now, unlike cyber security protection, which is basically being able to defend the data and IT infrastructure. So cyber resilience means that you have to be able to prepare and respond for these attacks, just to make sure that you maintain business continuity. Yes.
All right, and just from that definition, unless you want to add on to something, maybe what are the key components of a resilient cyber security strategy?
Okay, thank you. Probably I'd start with a little bit add up on the definition. Cyber security in terms of resilience is the ability of a company to anticipate, withstand, recover from, and adapt from cyber threats. Now, the key, the old school prevention is they prevent cyber threats. But now in resilience, is you're able to do that while still continuing with your core business. So that's it.
So what's the key components in building that resilience?
Some of the key components in building resilience is would look at
now if I may step in, when you look at the key components to building cybersecurity resilience in an IT environment setup, is the human training. All right, which is very essential. You look at the way categorization of attacks based on cybersecurity incidents and attacks, you will find that the human beings are the mostly targeted because they are very critical in the supply chain of cybersecurity. So one factor that I would really like to emphasize on is training on the human capacity. Human capacity is very essential because now as human beings, when you have skilled labor in any organization, it becomes very easy to be able to handle those types of attacks. Yes.
Maybe back to you, Tyson.
Yes.
What are some of the common threats that are there, that businesses and organizations can look out for?
Some of the threats are, you look at ransomware, you'll also phishing threats, and also system breaches. Those are the key issues, key areas that cyber threats come into place.
And with the threats that you've just mentioned, maybe what as steps that organizations should take to enhance, you know, their resilience to and their resilience against these threats?
Okay, that is a very good question. Now, in terms of steps, you look at cybersecurity as an all-inclusive kind of operation. It is not just a one-man's show or a one-man's job. It's all-inclusive, and that means that, you know, from if you have networks at your place, if you have databases, if you have servers, you have to look for a way to be able to have an all-inclusivity protection. And that is one principle in cybersecurity architecture we call defense in depth. And that means not only a network. For networks, let's say you have a firewall. For servers, you have to make sure that the configurations are up to date and well configured. For databases, you have to make sure that you have tools to protect the same. And then when it comes again to human, you have to be making sure that you keep on training them and updating them on the knowledge and the skills required to be able to, you know, protect themselves and make sure that we have business continuity. And that is what we are trying to focus more on in terms of a company. And that is what we do as CyberPro Global.
Yes. And just as a business development manager, like what would you advise, you know, businesses, you know, in terms of them ensuring that they are secure or resilient? Let me use the word resilient, that they are resilient in the matter we're talking about.
Okay, for businesses, I'd probably give a four-tier approach. The first is enhanced awareness. When your employees are aware of the risks that they face, they are able to detect and prevent the same. The second one is improved incidents reports. You find that staff can act swiftly and correctly during cyber threats when they are aware of what is happening. There is also reduced human errors. You will find out that the biggest threat to an institution in terms of security and focusing on cybersecurity is the human error, as my colleague had said. When you're able to capacity build your employees all rounded, and this is both technical and non-technical stuff. You see, when hackers are targeting you, they will not target technical guys. They'll target non-technical guys who they'll send you a link. That is the weak link in the system. So once you're able to educate and train your employees, you reduce significantly, close to 95% of the threat of cyber attacks. Yes.
And what's the best way to go about that? You know, just the capacity building, like what should companies do matters in terms of capacity building when it comes to them ensuring that everyone in the company is trained, not just the IT people in the company, but every single person is trained.
If I may, Vivian, one thing I've noticed my colleague mention a couple of things. He said the weak link. Not really. I think we should change terms to not weak, but rather critical. Because, you know, human beings, our emotions, you know, it's what makes us human beings.
We were just from speaking about emotional intelligence.
Yes, you know. So when we lack emotions, we stop being human beings.
That's true.
So hackers do tend to use those emotions to be able to manipulate us. So we should change the term from, you know, weak to critical. We are critical, very critical. So let's avoid using the term weak. Yeah, so back to the question about what organizations should do. I strongly believe that the first thing is the C-suite, the management, to be able to know that cybersecurity is a very, very important and significant part of organization today and in future. Because now, if they do not understand the importance of it, they will not even allocate budget to it. And cybersecurity is not just the, you know, traditional IT. You know, we have an IT department, therefore we can be able to, we are safe. You can have a very good IT individual, but then in matters of cybersecurity, they're not as competent as they should be. So again, it goes back to, you know, capacity building. So starting from the C-suite, being able to let the managers of the company and the owners, for example, or the whole board understand the importance of having cybersecurity department or personnel in the institution organization. And then coming back to IT individuals whom should be able to upskill or reskill, for that matter, to understand the latest technologies that are existing in cybersecurity, for example, AI-powered cybersecurity tools. So either you're using them or not, but either way, if you're not using them, then you will be left, you'll be left to not match the current technologies. All right. Then coming back to now the general stuff.
Yeah.
Because simple things like do not use a USB. That you've just picked somewhere. Do not be able to just connect to any password, any Wi-Fi, that is free or open. Such kind like small, simple things that they may look, it becomes an issue if we cannot be able to train our staffs.
Yeah. And speaking about that, we've seen incidences where institutions have been hacked or data being breached in one way or the other because their cybersecurity wasn't really intact. There's a case where we had what's this eCitizen.
The DDoS.
eCitizen was hacked some time back. And maybe what would you say concerning that?
I'd say, especially for the eCitizen attack, was a DDoS, like a denial of distributed denial of service attack. You find that the breach was, they had outdated security protocols. That is what they targeted, and that's how they got into the platform. You find the country was unable to use the eCitizen platform for the different services they provide.
Now, on the same, it was a DDoS attack, and fortunately or unfortunately, I will be on their defense a little bit, because now a DDoS attack is one of the attacks that is very, very difficult to prevent, and it's very, very easy to actually, manage or implement. Very difficult to prevent and very, very easy to implement. So in one way or the other, it was a very good wake-up call for the whole country, the government, the industry, and the academia as well. But I think we are headed there, because from their own, the security teams in the country really started upskilling again and reskilling again, going back to the capacity building.
So the buck stops with that capacity building.
It does.
Mainly.
It does. Why? Because I would break cybersecurity into two main factors. That is the technical factor and the human factor. And the technical factor is the technology aspect of it, And engineers and scientists and researchers are doing really hard work to ensure that we have very safe systems that are existing right now. But then the human factor is where I don't want to say the problem, but is where the whole idea is, So it becomes an issue, because you can invest billions of dollars on security infrastructure for any organization, but if you do not take a chunk of that budget to be able to enforce capacity building, it becomes a very big issue, because it all involves the people, the process, and the technology, and we are building technology for the people.
And now let's look at an incident where there's been an attack, a cyber attack. So what's the best way to for a response to that, like a response plan? That's what I mean. A response plan to quickly recover from that. Are there such?
Yes, there. I was looking at some meme the other day when where it was saying, it was a server room, and then the whole meme was saying, in case of a cyber attack, pull the cables, pull out the cables. So the best thing I would say
how true is that?
It is practical. It is practical. It's just like when you see an accident, you're driving, press the brakes. It is possible, but again, just to clear it out, a hack or an attack does not necessarily mean there is a data breach. Because when you look at the eCitizen incident, there was no data breach. It was just a denial of service, which actually reminds me to state the three core fundamentals of cybersecurity, which is the CIA triad: the confidentiality, the integrity, and availability. So they denied their availability aspect was the one which was compromised. So if either of them or all of them are compromised, then that is a hack or an attack. Well, in matters response plan, there are a couple of things people are supposed to do. Unfortunately, I don't know if they do it. But the first thing is to be able to isolate. Right? If you realize that the network in a certain department or in a certain room was breached, the first thing is to isolate. Isolate could mean literally again pulling the cables. But again, it wouldn't get to that if the personnel in charge of that were skilled enough, because they will be able to have, VLANs everywhere, and then you can be able to isolate it virtually or logically. So you don't need to be able to pull all the cables. After you have isolated, then if you are competent enough, you can be able to do an analysis and determine the type of threat it is and the impact that it has to the organization. And of course, you have to report to the authorities. In fact, when there is a data breach, now it becomes serious for that matter. Now you have to, ODPC is there, the Data Protection Office is there. You have to inform the authorities about the hack. And of course, you need to be able to clearly put it to the public if that has happened and to what extent. Unfortunately, I don't know if many organizations, I've seen a few who do that, but that should be the whole process.
Okay.
Because at the same time, we need to be able to ensure business continuity. That is now the cybersecurity resilience aspect of it.
Exactly. All right, so maybe to you, Getonga,
yes, sir.
What are some mistakes that you've seen businesses make or institutions make, in relation to cybersecurity resilience?
Some of the major and simple rules. I have a lecturer of mine who says you have to keep it simple and stupid. What I mean by that is that simple things like email verifications. You don't have MFA, multiple factor authentication. So you find that login passwords across your board are the same. So that is one of the simplest. Yet, if you look at an example, if you have an Android phone, the most feature you use is Google across all your banking, across all your sectors. So if I am able, and then you find that your password for Google is the same across different, yes. So you see, I am able, it is very simple to attack you or to attack a third party, using you as a third party. So those are some of the key issues that you look into. And companies, especially as Dan has said about data, right now data under the ODPC has to be protected, and we find that there are data controllers approved by the ODPC. If there is breach of something like that, you find that there is a heavy punitives. I was reading their report of last year. They gave out demand notices close to around 10 million for that, for breaching of data. So it is one of the key areas where institutions, where organizations, and as simple as the signing at the security gate, that you leave your data there, right? So it's simple things, day-to-day activities that you need to protect yourself from. Yes.
Yeah, but now how do we curb some of these mistakes? Because some of them, like the way when we go to an institution, you leave your details at the gate. I'm sure you even left your details, while you were coming in here. How to curb that? Because I mean, it's also a way of ensuring, security is looked at.
See, I'd look at it as a two-way. There is the giver of the data and the receiver of the data. You here being the case, let's say at the gate as we came in, you guys are the ones who received the data. If you've trained your employees, your people on cyber security and awareness and data protection, those are some of the things they will look at in terms of protecting that data. So it starts within. It starts within.
Yeah.
I would say again, just to add on what he has mentioned, I would say that many organizations think they are too small to be able to be compromised or attacked. I mean, I'm just a small-time organization that is for big guys to be attacked, which is entirely not true. And those are the the easy wins for malicious actors, because the moment you assume you will not be able to even just do a simple thing as upskilling your team or reskilling your staff, which becomes very, very essential to that. So like you asked, or he mentioned that we were able to leave our data registered at the entrance. Of course, I've never ever given correct data at any place I go, because now...
What do you mean? So you give false information?
No, it's just a matter of security, because, come on, they're asking my ID number.
Now people are going to pick that up.
My ID number, my phone number. I mean, those two details are very, very private.
I think that's a bit controversial.
Because now, let me ask you, how how will I be sure that the data that I'm leaving there
will be protected?
Yes, will be protected. And how do you think sometimes you randomly get phone calls or text messages from things that you have never even subscribed to? There are those books, and actually they are being sold at in town. 500 bob, you get a full book with the details and contacts for everybody. Yeah, so it's just a case of zero trust again.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would advise that, but well, to each their own.
Yeah,
to each their own, for sure. You had mentioned about business continuity planning, right?
Yes.
So how can organizations balance cybersecurity with the business continuity planning?
Well, thank you for that, Vivian. Now, in terms of continuity, I look at, this is how I look at the business aspect and cybersecurity. Now, we have to, again, acknowledge that it could be not cheap for organizations, especially SMEs and some organizations. But again, it is a necessity. So if your core business is to be able to manufacture, let's say, paints or, do X, Y, Z, that is your core business in terms of, your business operations, then I think it will not be ideal if you don't have the budget to have a full team for security personnel in the company. But you can always outsource these particular services, all right? You can outsource a company, like you can outsource as a cyber pro. You can be able to, train your staff, not only train your staff, but make sure that we set up a very good security parameter within your organization, and as well as recommend, the policies and everything in matters security, so that you can concentrate on what you're doing as a business, and we help you secure your business as well.
Yeah. And speaking about that, you mentioned it's expensive. So why is it expensive, and maybe what should be done, or who should come on board in order to ensure that it's not as expensive, so that probably everyone or every organization or company can be able to at least be able to get these services? Okay,
now one issue that comes about in terms of expenses is because globally we are lacking cybersecurity experts. All right. Well, I know maybe somebody who is watching is like, no, I don't have a job here and I'm very good at cybersecurity. We are lacking cybersecurity experts, but again, just to be clear, we are lacking skilled cybersecurity experts. It's one thing to feel like you're a cybersecurity expert, and it's another thing to be skilled at what you think you can be able to do. So that is one issue that is happening. And then in matters, what can happen is I would recommend that we do a risk analysis, so that we can be able to identify and determine the most critical assets in an organization. And then we can be able to have a secure plan for that. Because if, customers have to access your services through an online platform, then it means one of the, high value assets in that organization is maybe the server, if you are hosting it on premise. And so we need to be able to make sure that whatever happens, business has to continue, and that means people have to still access this server. And I doubt if you or the organization is willing to spend all that money to be able to have an on-prem cybersecurity individual, because at the end of the month it could hurt these small-time organizations. So you find that it's very cheaper to be able to contract these services in reputable organizations, all right? And so it reduces, aggressively reduces the cost to be able to handle the security aspects.
So and also just maybe trying to make it affordable is for us to have more skilled cybersecurity experts.
So the whole point is training. So training will, and again for cybersecurity, there is, the non-technical aspect, which is, GRC, governance, risk and compliance, talking about legals and frameworks, international and locally, and then we have got the technical aspect, which is penetration testing, vulnerability assessment, gap analysis. The other one which lies between non-technical and technical is IT audit. And you see all of these things, we curated a very good curriculum. Both that is accepted locally and of course recognized globally as CyberPro, that we can be able to train our individuals, especially in Kenya, that you can be able to be upskilled to the extent that you become very much skilled, and of course there is opportunity, very huge opportunity.
So there's clearly a gap, for the Form 4 students who actually just finished. This is an area they can look into. Nice. Okay, so maybe what are some of the common challenges that organizations face when it comes to building cybersecurity resilience that you can talk about? Common challenges.
Common challenges is enforcement of policies. I'd say you'll find companies have good policies to help them under cyber attacks, but compliance of the same and the enforcement of the same are two different aspects. At times you find that companies are do not give 100% towards cybersecurity training and threats. So it becomes, yes, you have the policies, but they are just desktop policies. So enforcement goes a long way. And enforcement can be tackled in two ways. Once you give capacity building to your employees and they feel and see the need of protecting what you have, they will appreciate and follow the policies. So that is one of the things where companies, yes, you will have desktop policies, but enforcement of the same becomes an issue. And then also cybersecurity has to be a continuous training. Things change, hackers keep getting better every time. So it has to be a continuous effect. You can't say because we did it last year, we can't do it this year. There are companies who do it even 3 times or every quarter. So you have to keep up with the changing trends.
So those are some of the challenges.
Continuous improvement.
Okay. How best to ensure security measures adapt to new and evolving cyber threats? As you've mentioned, things keep evolving. So how best to ensure that, to your query?
Oh, to me, okay. Thank you for that. Now, I like what the government is doing currently. They're really coming up with very good policies, and I know I've worked with a few, and I like the way they are seeing things right now. We're even planning to, buy overhead that even small organizations that are having at least 50 to 100 people, they need to be able to have an on-prem security personnel. And so you see now, when we are able to have these local policies and regulations, and then enforce them again, like he mentioned, we can be able to have a very strong, security architecture, even for small-time businesses and even individuals as well. So I really look up and wait for what the government is doing, and I know they are really doing it. I know something is cooking because we have had as a company, as CyberPro, conversations with them. And I'm very much positive that we have come a long way and we are heading somewhere. In the next few months, probably, we will be way past some of these conversations.
And what steps, maybe, do you feel should be taken or can be taken in order to create a culture of cybersecurity awareness?
What steps to be taken? Sorry.
What steps should be taken in order to create a culture of cybersecurity awareness?
I'd say, as my colleague said, ownership by C-suite executives. See, when it starts at the top, when at the top they appreciate and enforce these policies, these manuals, the people down trickle down. There's a trickle down effect all the way to even the security guard at the gate. So once the C-suite executives appreciate and are able to monitor the same, it becomes easier as a company to wave over the cybersecurity things.
Okay. There's AI now, artificial intelligence. It's been here, it's here, and I feel like it's here to stay now. So maybe what role does AI play when it comes to cybersecurity?
Oh, well, allow me to respond to that, Vivian. Now, I had a meme which was saying again that
you've been seeing memes.
Yeah, a lot recently, especially related to AI and cybersecurity. That ChatGPT lost its job to AI, and it was the DeepSeek, for the Chinese. I like what the Chinese have done so far, but AI is here to stay, and it's not going anywhere for that matter. So we have to, whether you like it or not, brace ourselves to it. And cybersecurity currently, it's impacting hugely on cybersecurity architecture, because right now most of the tools that that are used in cybersecurity are powered by AI. And now even bad actors, hackers, people call them hackers, but I like call them bad actors, are using these AI-powered cybersecurity tools to be able to perform their attacks, which means they are very smart, super smart, they are fast, and they can be able to even, lack of a better word, mutate, because they are able to learn the functioning of a firewall and update itself based on the way the target is, and work around a network and get inside to compromise the systems. So how do you or are you able to man up or be able to be up for the challenge? Is definitely to use AI against AI. Human against AI, it's not possible. And a very good saying that goes, AI is never going to replace people. No, it's not.
Oh, there's that
conversation. Yeah, AI is never going to replace people, but people with AI are going to replace people without AI. And that is a fact. Yeah. So the better we become ourselves in, getting to understand better AI is, good for us. I will be very happy if one day we are able to have a Kenyan African-based GPT. Yeah. It will be a really the awakening call. But again, that is a whole conversation on its own. So on cybersecurity and AI, it's getting to a point whereby there will be no cybersecurity without AI. Yeah. Because like for now, I would give it an 80% cyber, because you look at the tools that are existing currently, they are being powered by AI, right? 90% of them. So it's just the remaining 10%, the traditional tools, of course. But in the long run, in the next few months, cybersecurity will be fully powered by AI. Yeah.
So, Gitonga, you agree that it's time we all get skilled on AI?
Yes, I agree. And you see, one of the things about AI and the cybersecurity, as businesses have to leverage themselves on AI-driven solutions, both in detection and response of threats. You'll find also that there is also AI has you're able to have personalized trainings in different sectors. So it becomes even easier for cybersecurity as a tool to detect where do you go wrong, or where are you going wrong. And one of the things about CyberPro is that we are among the pioneers in using AI to do some of the things, whether it's penetration, whether it's training. Using AI and leveraging the tools that are available to them is one of the key areas, and also one of the ways that we have also set ourselves aside as a company.
Yeah. Okay. We are all at a position to be hacked or for our data to be breached in one way or the other. Just for individuals, probably we've talked about organizations and company, but now for individuals, just what's the best way to ensure that you are secure, like your data is secure and you are just secure when you're online in terms of you avoiding getting hacked and whatnot?
Thank you for that, Vivian. What do they say? If it croaks like a what?
If it walks like a duck.
Yeah, if it walks like a duck, then definitely it is a duck. And most of the times, you always, the moment you find urgency in any communication, again, it might be true, maybe it is a genuine thing, but the moment you find urgency, especially in a communication that you're not aware of, it's the first red flag. And so I'm not saying you don't trust, you trust, but the first thing after that you verify, right? The moment you find urgency, the moment you are winning lottery or you're winning iPhone 17, which you never participated, it becomes, the moment a Bible application on your phone is asking access to your contacts or camera. I mean, why would a Bible application ask for camera access on my phone? So there are some of the things, when you look at, you're able to see it when it's walking like a duck.
He called it something to do with simple and stupid.
That's
what the lecturer taught them.
You keep it simple and stupid. It's called KISS, KISS. The KISS principle, one of the key principles of cybersecurity architecture. You keep it very simple and very stupid. It makes it easy for the good guys to use and very difficult for the bad guys to use.
So for one to just be protect themselves. Just look out for some of the really small things, you know, nitty-gritties.
Exactly.
Yeah, you've been sent for some link you didn't even ask for, and then you're there, you're just clicking on it.
Just clicking, opening images, you know. And recently, not only for, in fact, even the common guys who are not really much techie. Last week I received an email from my boss with a lot of urgency to be able to change my password.
Oh.
And you know, I was sitting next to him and I asked him, why are you sending me, you know, an email to change my password? He told me, no, I never sent you an email. But when you look at the email, it is exactly my boss's email. And you see now hackers are getting very smart, as smart as that. It is the exact same email he uses. Yeah. And I've received again so many, you know, now we are into this business. We have received so many links to be able to, you know, just click on it, phishing links, so many documents that are very malicious. So now what you do, we have got free tools and free platforms, even as, you know, a person who is not so much techie. One of them is virustotal.com. You just copy and paste the link there or upload a file there. It will give you all the details. If it's a, you know, a genuine file or it's a genuine link or not genuine, it will give you. Because that is one of the databases where all the antiviruses get their sources of data from. Yeah.
All right. As we almost come to a conclusion of this conversation, maybe to you, Gitonga, just what would you want to be people's take home from our conversation?
Probably what our take home, I'd also add to what Dan said. We have free webinars every month to try and sensitize people on data protection and cybersecurity. So that is one of the avenues. And there are many avenues across the board where individuals can learn basics of what to do and what not to do in terms of cybersecurity. My take home would be if you're looking to get into the cyberspace or to protect your businesses, the best place to come is at CyberPro. We have customized offers for both for all across the board, government institutions, is it businesses, is it individuals, and what we do at CyberPro, you get we are accredited institutions by NITA, by ODPC, and also we have we are accredited trainers under EC Council, the global EC Council. So one of the things you get from us is you'll get the whole package. You'll get to have your certifications and inculcating knowledge into some of these processes. You find that right now the places, one of the key areas, especially in cybersecurity, where there'll be a lot of hula baloo probably in the next 2 years, is GRC, governance, risk, and compliance. Because at the end of the day, we've said this, it's changing. It's coming, and you have to be prepared. So those are some of the key areas where we'd be looking into.
Okay. As we finalize now a query, what's the future of cybersecurity trends? As you also give us your last remarks.
AI is the future. It's the current and the future. AI is not just cybersecurity, but the whole technology. So AI is the current right now and will be the future, and there is no changing that. Of course, there are other technologies like IoT and you know, data science and everything, but AI is the future in matters cybersecurity. So you become rightfully placed, because if you don't position yourself that way, then you'll be knocked out. So my take home is we are ISO 27001 2022 certified, and that means how serious we take our business. It's a very you know, intense certification to be able to get the ISMS one, and so that means that you'll be in a very safe hands to be able to do business with us or work with us. And when it comes to training or, you know, having your security solutions sorted, and this is interdisciplinary. We don't focus on, you know, just tech guys, like even the media guys, like yourself. There is a tailored, customized training for media, all right, in matters privacy, data privacy, in matters frameworks, in matters regulations, just for you guys. When it comes to guys taking agriculture, education, and all sorts of that, we have a huge catalog. But of course, for techie again, we have got all those catalogs in terms of penetration testing and certified ethical hacking. And one thing we emphasize on in our trainings is communication and ethics. because it's very important to be able to have that. Just because you can be able to work around and penetrate a system does not mean you have to unless you get consent. And how do you communicate this to people? How do you tell them, you know, your system is compromised? Yeah. So communication and ethics is one of the key things that we are able to highlight in all our curriculum across. And so we have our partners, our training partners at the University of Nairobi, Chiromo, Catholic University of Eastern Africa, Daystar University, Rongo University, and Meru University.
Okay.
Yeah, so those are our training partners. You can be able to find us there, and our offices are in Hurlingham, where we also have an academy. If you want to enroll, you can always join us and, of course, get more details to it. Or visit our website, cyberpro.ke.
All right. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us for this conversation. This is where we end this talk. I've been having Tyson Gitonga, who is a business development manager, as well as Danstan Akwiri, who is the vice president, Cyberpro Global. Our conversation was on building resilience in cybersecurity. And this is where we end Good Morning Kenya for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Vivian Dagwa. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing. Goodbye.
Usafi umegawanyika sampuli mbili. At-taharatu al-ma'nawiyya ay al-qalbiyya, usafi wa kimoyo, na pia at-taharatu al-badaniyya al-hissiyya, bimaana usafi wa kimwili. Kwa sasa Muislamu lazima ajipambe na vitu hivi vyote viwili, aonekane ndani na nje, aonekane kuwa ni msafi.
Usafi wa moyo unapatikana kwa kumcha Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, kujiepusha na makatazo ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, na vile vile pia kuondoa chuki, wivu na unafiki, ama mambo yote ambayo yanaweza kuharibu imani ya mtu.
Stop. What's wrong with you?
I said stop the car.
You mean Dan is missing?
What do you know about this? I had nothing to do with this. Don't play dumb with me, Millicent.
I came across a poster.
Done again.
What's wrong with your tata? That is full of wonders.
Hello, Margaret.
Oluwali Margaret.
Wow. Mama hapo wewe mzangu. I told you I'll take care of everything.
Were you also part of my abduction?
Oh, shut up, Alice.
I'm going to find out.
Why haven't you found out already?
You know what? I think we're done here. Just leave. Katunda wange.
So you guys are friends now?
You wanted to kill my daughter. Murderer.
Kwa nini tuandike na mate ilhali wino uliokolea wa samawi na mweusi upo?
Elimu ni taa inayoangaza, giza linalojitokeza. Ni chemichemi ya maarifa inayotoa mvua ya busara.
Soko ya vipaji yamejaa.
Katika maisha hii, watu wengi sana wanatumia talanta yao ili kupata riziki, kama vile densi. Wengi wao tunaona kwenye televisheni na mtandao. Hapo ndipo anapata riziki na chakula cha kila siku.
Kwa hivyo talanta inalipa. Unakubaliana Rashid?
Uhaba wa fursa. Kuna watu ambao wako na talanta lakini sio wote hupaswa upata kujulikana.
Tunga sentensi yoyote ile kwa kuzingatia kivumishi cha a unganifu.
I wouldn't wish you for my worst enemy.
Please delete that audio from your phone, from Jabali's phone, pia kutoka simu mzao yake, please.
See it for yourself. Ulisema unajua about our past. How much of our past do you know?
Mkutano mshafanya na mkamalo.
Mama Jabali ashafika, niwe hata tunangoja ufike tuanze.
Anakupigia simu kwani simu yangu imezima?
Tutamtegea.
Huyo jamaa alizima simu na akapotea hivyo, zira aliendaje? Kwani nili
hata uwezi tafuta watu hata wakuja kufanya
Mimi na mama Chene tunashiriki kwa kanisa moja.
Ukaamua mletee maua.
Hapana, hii ni dadake.
My brother started teasing on me. I don't know how to skate. That is when I started, and I realized I'm good at it. Kuskate sio atu win. Ukiskate tu utajua by time. Usisikilize advice za watu mbaya. Usisikilize kwa vitu negative.
Today, as I walked around the library, I found an interesting book. It is called East African Why Stories.
11 hours licked little 11 licorice lollipops. 11 hours licked little 11 licorice lollipops.
Today I'm going to show you how to make an Oreo cake. It's delicious, soft and just perfect to enjoy with a side of tea or even milk.
Are you a talented artist? Or are you passionate about a topic you want to discuss? But money can be very hard to find for an upcoming artist. Don't worry, Studio Mashinani has got your back. Sign up on ajira.co.ke to book a session with your music and video producers across the country. Work on your music, jingles, spoken words, and even podcasts to realize your dream. All for free. Studio Mashinani, Radani Talent.
Today we want to look at what would happen if the energy that the youth carry would be diverted to something constructive. This is not to say that all they do is destructive, but just looking at what about if we focus all this energy and see what kind of a nation we are going to create.
At the end of the day, God requires us to serve him in a young age. When you have the energy to do that, when you have the strength to do that, not when you are old, ndio unaanza kuamka, let me go and serve God, because you think death is near, so that's why you want to serve God. How strong are you? How strong are you? How strong is your Christianity? Ile kwa ya ukweli ama ile uongo? Because kama ni kwa ya ukweli, no matter what happens, the chokers of life, the peer pressures, the issues of life, the influence of this life, zikiko affect. At the end of the day, you know, cross. You have to keep on looking at it.
Jukuna sio sema ngeo kitu ni cliche.
Huyu karani, huyu sijui ni karani ama
anakuchoma na nini?
Ananichoma na hichi pala. Wewe ni hiyo chichwa vile na meremeta.
Yeye ameenda akatoboa septic tank ya mtu mwingine akajaza ya jirani.
Kuna wakati nilileta hanisaka ikuje ilete uchafu kwa septic yangu.
Ayu anisaka.
Ati?
Ayu anisaka. Did I any confirmation of
wewe
amechanganyikiwa na maisha mheshimiwa.
Wewe ndio umechanganyikiwa.
Feto nyumba.
Unafanya nini huko ukifanya kama ujenzi wa taifa hivi?
Ama chop winners mheshimiwa. Chop winners.